There we go. I wasn't paying close attention and accidentally went live on Twitch before the other platforms, so I hadn't started the timer yet. But what's up, guys? We have so much news tonight. It's like freaking news warfare. All right. Now, got to get the news stories pulled up because, man, do we have a lot. Think I've almost got everything pulled up. My goodness gracious, great balls of fire. There's so many news stories this week. Tan stack, more tan stack, Palo Alto getting popped with a classic stacked buffer overflow, if I remember correctly. My goodness gracious, the world of cybersecurity is burning. It's burning, y'all. It's burning. Why is this thing not working? You piece of crap. Hang on. Hang on. The buttons. You change one tiny thing and freaking this thing just loses its ever-loving mind. There we go. My goodness, y'all. There's so much stuff. I hope everybody's having a fantastic week. I'm actually having a pretty chill one this week. I'm on research and development, which has been nice because my internet was out for, well, let me think. 17 hours yesterday. Yeah. So it went out at like midnight and then didn't come back on until 5 p.m. So yeah, that sucked. And so I told my boss, I'm like, hey, I got 2 meetings today. Can you cover them? She was like, yeah, sure. And it wouldn't have even been so bad if I could have just tethered to my smartphone. However, my cell phone provider has also shit the bed on me. So it was just great. Hello, Governor. Sup, Discourse? Disclosure. Pfft. I know you are. All right. My goodness. Yeah, hold on. Here's a breakdown from Theo of just everything that's been happening. Copy fail 2, Dirty Frag, Electric Boogaloo, 13 Next.js advisory, 70 CVEs for macOS, 50 CVEs for iOS, Yellow Key BitLocker compromise, Green Plasma Windows Priv-esque. Let's see. Couple of CVEs that were confirmed use by Russia for Windows remote code execution. Another one separately confirmed used by Russia for sensitive document access. Mini Shai-Hulud running rampant. And in fact, we've got one of the articles about how that got, I think TanStack got compromised by them. Google confirms they have an AI-powered exploitation of 0 days in an unidentified open-source web system administration tool. Yay. Canvas was pwned entirely. And Palo Alto Networks had a 9.3, which means that's an RCE. And in fact, I think, what's his name? Low Level Learning did a video on that one today, even. So, yeah, guys, the security world is running around with its hair on fire. Just going nuts. Heck is that? All right. What's the poison today? Doing hacker news, man. It's Wednesday night. It is the Wednesdays. All right. I'm not going to go too deep into Dirty Frag, but this is the one that was kind of like leading the charge for this week until Mini Shai-Hulud kicked off. So, Dirty Frag is basically an offshoot of what happened. Oh, for the drink? My bad. It's well, you can't see it because, like, you see through it, right? Because of the green screen. But it's still the green Jocos. Yes, the greens. I ran out of the oranges. Anyway. So, kicking off tonight, Dirty Frag, like I was saying, this is an offshoot of Copy Fail. And the timeline of it is actually what's hilarious. So, this was not supposed to have been released until yesterday. Obviously, it was. So, what happened? Well, they patched it. And some industrious nerd named Sick over at, what's it? Attrition.sh, I think that's the site. Anyway, he saw the patch And he looked at it, he goes, you know what? I think that looks like copy fail. Goes through, reverse engineers the patch, which was really tiny, actually. It was a small change. And bam, publishes it as copy fail 2 Electric Boogaloo. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen. I don't think the patch was actually supposed to have been pushed yet. But anyway, the patch got pushed on the 7th, and then I think SICK saw it and published the proof of concept for the exploit on the 7th, and then I think this one was released on the 8th. They weren't supposed to be released publicly at all until the 12th, because the embargo was still in effect. So, but this is essentially doing the exact same thing, it's just it's doing 2 different attack patterns. And hang on, he's actually got, if you want to go check it out, let me drop the link to it real quick. There we go. If you want to check it out, go down to assets and then go to the write-up. He's got a pretty detailed technical write-up in here. It explains everything that's going on with it. And I was researching it to not do a YouTube video on it, but basically I'm practicing doing YouTube videos again with a new production pipeline, and this was my test case. Go figure. But one thing that was really cool about this is copy fail and dirty pipe are actually very similar along the lines of the old dirty cow exploit. So it's like there's a lineage here. It's like dirty cow and then copy fail and then dirty frag now. But this went through 2 different systems in here. So the IPsec ESP package in basically handling all of the encryption for it, it had a small 4-byte structure, and you could use that to pollute the page cache. So you'd have 4 bytes to work with. And then there was another one. Let me see if he talks about method number 2 in here. Yeah, there was another one with, RX RPC. And I had actually never heard of this. This is like the Andrew, what's it called? Andrew something. Remote file system. I think that was what it's called. And actually, this was a predecessor to NFS. It's just NFS got better adoption. So it kind of like was like VHS and Betamax, DVD and Blu-ray. NFS won the race. So yeah, these are basically doing the exact same thing in here. Let's see, yeah. So they're going through, they're doing a 4-byte slice operation, and you shouldn't have had, basically it was bypassing the memory protection to where when it cached that file in memory, the memory page permissions should have been identical to the file page permissions on disk, but it was bypassing it, and you could write 4 bytes over to it and then rewrite. Now, these are actually, we used this, when did we use this? Saturday night. Yeah, we used this Saturday night to go root a box over in Hack the Box for fun. Just like, hey, let's go see if it works. Boom, it did. I knew it worked. I've thrown it up in my lab before, but yeah, so this one came up hot, fast, and then just got BTFO'd by everything else. Let's see. And so there was another one here. I just wanted to cover that one real quick since it was kind of big, and I was expecting that one to kind of like headline for tonight. But we had so much other stuff come up. It's been kind of crazy. So this one was one that Bobby sent in, I think. Who sent that? Yeah, Bobby sent this one in. Yeah, 44. So that's a pretty common practice is it won't get you a 0 day going through and reading the patch diffs, but he was watching the kernel patches and essentially created like not quite a 0 day, but kind of did because nobody knew it was there to patch it. So it was weird. It wasn't a 0 day and it wasn't an end day, like a 1 day. It was kind of like a 0.5 day where the patch was out, but nobody knew that they had to go critically patch real fast. So what is going on with YouTube here? For some reason, YouTube and Kick are like just completely offline. I don't know what's going on with them. Hang on one sec, guys. All right, it looks like YouTube finally came back up. I don't know what is going on with this. This is crazy. So, but anyway, yeah, to answer your question, 44, yeah, he was just watching the commits, and I might actually still have it up. Hang on. Actually, hold on. Let me see. I think I've got it up in the script notes that I was typing. Hang on. There's part of it. Yeah, here we go. Hang on, I do have it. Yeah, so what he was doing is, over here in the kernel.org, he was just watching it, and the commit's real tiny in here. It was... Yeah, here we go. So you can see, like, it's all of a sudden, it's just like, boop, real short adding. Add. So, real tiny one to kind of point him in the direction of where he needed to go. Yeah, ultra tiny patch. You got Gemini Pro for 54 months for 15 bucks. Damn, dude. All right. Anyway, so getting on with it, because we got a lot of stories to cover tonight. Bobby sent this one in to cover. He said, where have all the complex Windows malware and their analysis gone? It says, you might have also wondered why, especially over the last few years, it's become increasingly rare to read about truly interesting malware and its in-depth analysis. So if you've been in cybersecurity for more than a decade, you remember the feeling of a true discovery. You'd wake up, grab a coffee, and check the latest Kaspersky Great Team, or other resources like FireEye, or the ESET blog, only to find a 60-page PDF that read like a high-stakes espionage thriller. 1 or 2 decades ago, corporate security blogs, independent researcher sites, and specialized forums like kernelmode.info were an absolute goldmine for malware blockbusters. It wasn't just the technical detailed teardowns of highly complex custom-built rootkits that captivated us. It was the thrill of the hunt itself. Threat hunters and malware researchers would publish gripping step-by-step accounts of how they tracked digital breadcrumbs across obscure infrastructure, pivoting through servers and protocols until they uncovered sprawling modular toolkits complete with intricate custom plugins. Now, I think part of that is kind of just because people aren't rolling their own C2s anymore. They're using cracked copies of Cobalt Strike, or they're using something like Mythic or other off-the-shelf stuff to run some of this. We actually do see some more of this a little bit. There was an article that we covered several weeks ago on the news stream. It was about, who wrote that? I forget what it was, but they found evidence of this guy making a C2 using a bunch of like primary design documents for AI agents. Oh, I got you, Potion. Yeah. The same thing works with game codes. Like, you can go get, like, certain video game keys that way. Anyway, so coming back to it. So during that era, we watched researchers perform dissections of the most sophisticated code ever written. We saw the anatomy of the tools from the Equation Group, Stuxnet, Flame, Corito, whole slew he's got here. And these weren't just simple malware, they were engineering marvels that utilized custom virtual file systems and hidden partitions. Even the commodity malware scene was a fascinating technical playground, where researchers regularly hunted down and deconstructed heavyweights like TDL, Zero Access, Zeus, Dridex, whole bunch. But especially in recent years, that dynamic has heavily shifted, leaving us in a landscape that feels strangely hollow. So this blog post tries to give an answer as to why that's the case. This is interesting. I hadn't really thought about this, Bobby, so I'm glad you sent this one in. So we have the ransomware and info stealer noise machine. So the sheer volume of financially motivated cybercrime has exploded, and with it, the nature of public discourse has changed. Because ransomware and info stealers cause immediate catastrophic business disruption, they dominate the incident response engagements that security firms use as a fodder for their blogs. However, from an analyst perspective, ransomware is often technically boring. Technically boring. Not like it's, interesting but boring. No, technically, from a technical standpoint, it's boring. It's not interesting. So whether it's from Lockbit, ALFV, or Clop, the underlying mechanics are largely the same. Standard encryption routines, lateral movement using stolen credentials, and double extortion tactics. So the same applies to the massive surge in info stealers like Redline, Luma, and SteelSea. These tools are the digital equivalent of a smash and grab robbery. Highly effective, but technically rudimentary. Because security companies write reports based on what they are currently fighting on the front lines to prove their relevance to the market, the public sees a flood of reports on these financially motivated gangs. The noise machine effectively drowns out the rare, highly advanced espionage campaigns, leaving the audience with the impression that cybercrime has reached its peak complexity, when in reality, it's just reached its peak volume. That's a very good point. I mean, it's pretty much every damn day you hear about some kind of new stealer, ransomware thing all over the place. Like, hey, this new variant of it is doing this. Yeah, but they're all pretty much doing the same thing. They're not meant to fly low, hide under the radar. Maybe that would be an interesting article to do. That would be an interesting series to do. Like, great rats of the past. And, like, just go through all of these. All right, so what about this? The corporatization of intelligence. So the absence of deep dives isn't just about the malware itself, it's about who owns the analysis. Security companies who are still performing incredible manual threat hunting and reverse engineering of 0 days and advanced toolkits, but the intelligence has been aggressively monetized. So there's a threat intel paywall, highly detailed technical teardowns, specific hunting methodologies, and fresh IOCs have become premium products. Companies reserve their deepest, most sophisticated intelligence for enterprise clients paying hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for private feeds. That's very true. The general public only gets the sanitized summaries, high-level overviews that tell you something happened without showing you exactly how it worked. And there's also, he touches on legal and public relations constraints. So in the modern era, breaches are no longer just technical problems, they're legal and public relations minefields. Responses to major intrusions are tightly controlled by legal teams and PR firms. Incident response firms are now bound by incredibly strict non-disclosure agreements. Even if a researcher finds a groundbreaking piece of custom malware on a client's network, the victim company rarely grants permission to publish the juicy details for fear of signaling their own security gaps to the attackers. Now, I'm of the opinion, maybe it's not, I don't work in threat hunting, I don't work in incident response, but there's ways around this. I mean, basically, it's the same way that doctors do it, right? It's like, hey, by the way, there was a patient. Patient had these symptoms. Here's how patient was treated. Here's how patient responded. Continue. The same thing could be done here. It's like, hey, by the way, we found this really interesting piece of malware in a company. No, we're not going to tell you the company, but they work doing stuff and they make a profit. And here's how these people came in to try to steal their profit. Stuff like that. You could go through and you could actually work to. So I agree with this, but also I think it's also a lot of spineless folks that don't realize, hey, you can go talk about this kind of stuff. I don't know. Maybe the NDAs are exceedingly strict. I'm not sure, but I think there should be ways around that. Anyway, we also have APT inflation. When everything is advanced, nothing is. Oh God, is it ever? When everybody's super, no one will be super. So one of the primary reasons the public has lost interest in the quote, the next big thing, is there's a massive inflation of advanced persistent threat groups. In early days, an APT designation was a badge of honor for a threat hunter or a malware researcher. It meant they had found a top-tier adversary. Today, the term has been hijacked by marketing departments and inexperienced people. We are now living in an era where every major campaign from a group like APT41 or Lazarus is branded as a groundbreaking event, even when the code itself is boring copy-paste jobs heavily reliant on recycled projects. So part of the dilution stems from the fact that the term advanced was never formally or qualitatively defined in a way that in a way the entire industry respected. In the absence of a rigid technical standard, the word became entirely subjective. So it's a logical consequence that different people with vastly different skill sets will use the term to describe entirely different tiers of malware. That's true. I've seen some APTs that I'm like, damn, there was somebody with weaponized autism working on that one. And I've seen some that's like, bro, they were running freaking Metasploit. I mean, there's a world of difference there. Let's see. Going back to the article, it says, to a junior SOC analyst, a multi-stage obfuscated loader might seem advanced, whereas to a veteran reverse engineer, the same code is just a mundane weekend project for a script kiddie. Because there's no floor for what qualifies as sophisticated, the term naturally drifts towards the lowest common denominator, until advanced effectively loses all technical meaning. So the marketing APT phenomenon creates a dangerous signal fatigue. When every supposed state-sponsored script kiddie using an open source malware labeled an APT is it's true though, the community naturally stops paying attention. I do. I make fun of them. It's like, hey, we've got this new, APT group called, Wicked Bear Spleen. I'm like, yeah, stop giving them cool names. Just give them stupid names. Like, this is fuzzy hugs of weakness. Anything. So this means, going back to the article, yeah, Wicked Bear Spleen. So back in the article, this means that when a real unicorn finally appears, a piece of code that with the actual complexity of something like Snake or Flame, it often fails to garner attention it deserves because it's drowned out by thousands of reports on the newest click fix lures. Click fix. Death of me. We've reached a point where APT is simply a generic synonym for someone we think works for a government, regardless of whether their tool set shows any actual creativity or sophistication. And then we have the red team paradox, which is the death of the custom binary. Ironically, the rise of red teaming and the democratization of offensive security tools have been a nail in the coffin for complex malware development. The industry spends years proving a vital point. You don't actually need a multi-million-dollar custom sophisticated toolkit to win. Red teaming is vital for improving security, but it comes with a massive catch, the dual-use dilemma. So when skilled red teams discover a way to bypass an EDR or dump credentials, they often write a tool and publish it on GitHub to give back to the community and force vendors to patch the vulnerability. The altruism creates a scenario of unpaid R&D for adversaries. Real threat actors, from ransomware affiliates to nation-state groups, instantly adopt these tools. In effect, red teamers are doing the research and development for criminals and state actors for free. One of the greatest achievements of red teaming in offensive security industries is successfully demonstrating to advanced threat actors that they can achieve their goals with far less effort. So why spend months writing malware when you can just download Sliver, Covenant, or Mythic from GitHub? Yeah, Mythic. I love Mythic. Hey, Drew, what's up, man? I'm interested in to follow the cybersecurity topic for now. You have a Discord server. Yeah, man, just do ! Discord in the chat. It will drop it up. In fact, I think I can do it even. Hey, it did. All right, cool. Yeah, because I forgot to pin the article that we're reading right now. There we go. Yeah, if you guys ever want to see preview of coming attractions or toss up news stories, we have a weekly news thread up in the Discord channel, and anytime we come across interesting stories, we just drop it over in there. So that's where I'm pulling all these articles from. I've dropped stuff in there, Potion, Bobby, bunch of folks. It's just usually Potion and Bobby are like the bulk of it. They find stuff all the time and just, hey, this is interesting. Drop it in. Let's see. I also fully agree with him on this part right here. Basically, open source is working. Especially with something like Mythic, because the way Mythic is designed as a framework, you can just then go develop your own. Hey, Laughing, what's up, dude? Welcome, agent. I need to go change that sound, actually. It was supposed to be just for like a first-time subscriber, and you've been subbed for like 15 months. So it's supposed to be like it's supposed to like say your name and it's like has popped 15 shells is what it's supposed to do. I just haven't gotten around to that. Maybe no, I'm not going to work on it after the stream. I got too much going on this week, but I will work on it. Anyway, what's up, man? Happy Wednesday. All right. Oh, so I don't remember what I said. I got sidetracked there by shiny thing. So Mythic being a framework, you can go just build your own agent in there and have it work with stuff. I wouldn't use any of the off-the-shelf Mythic things for anything where you're trying to be stealthy because they're open source. They've been, cataloged to death. So going back to the article, talk about using everything open source. So this shift has also led to attribution challenges. So when a security vendor analyzes a breach and finds a tool like Mimikatz or Bloodhound, it makes attribution even more challenging than it already is. You can't confidently say this was a specific APT when the tool used is a public script downloaded daily by students, defenders, and criminals alike. A prime example of this trend is APT 29, which has been repeatedly observed leveraging public offensive security projects, including C2 frameworks and various malware loaders sourced directly from GitHub. So to mask its high-level espionage operations behind the facade of common security testing tools, malicious gossip has... malicious gossip, I choked on that word because I love it. It's funny. Malicious gossip has it that one could almost think they are engaged in a form of trolling with this approach. So because the threat actors are now using the exact same open source frameworks found on GitHub, the attacks look technically sophisticated but completely generic. The malware is no longer the story. The configuration and deployment of the tools is the story. That's kind of true. Actually, yeah, it's interesting to see how they're using those tools, not what they're using. So this is highly effective for the attacker, but it makes it incredibly boring technical report. Yeah. Graduated with my master's this weekend. Let's go. And got your first and second CVE. Let's go, dude. That's freaking sweet, man. That's a good day, dude. That's a good week. Love to hear that, man. Heck, you're 2 CVEs ahead of me. I don't even have any CVEs. Just never had the need for them. I can get into systems without making custom exploits. Or anytime I've had to do that, it was some proprietary internal system for a company. I'm not going to go get a CVE and like just totally roast my client, right? Speaking of the NDAs we were talking about earlier. Yeah, all good in the cyber world. Yeah, this is the dumpster fire right now. Everything has just been dialed up to 11 this week. I just happen to be on a pen test of an open source project. It's not because I'm extra cool or anything. Technically, I mean, I have pen tested open source projects, but also I couldn't go disclose any of the stuff I found in them because, again, technically everything I find on that penetration test is property of the client that paid me to do it. Why does Gemini CLI refuse prompt injection, but Gemini Code Assist accepts it? I don't know. You should find out, Potion. Let's see. So let's continue on with this article because we're almost to the end here. So now we've got this the satiation of Windows and the pivot to the cloud. So another critical factor in the decline of complex Windows malware is simply that we've reached a point of diminishing returns. For decades, Windows was the primary canvas for malware authors. But after 30 years of cat and mouse games, there's a limit to how many new architectural techniques can be discovered. Microsoft hardened the OS with HVCI, VBS, and improved kernel protections, making it significantly more expensive to develop the kind of kernel-level rootkits we saw in the 2010s. As a result, the research community and threat actors alike have shifted their focus to other fields. So we're seeing a massive migration towards cloud security, targeting identity access management or OAuth token theft, and vulnerability research, focusing on 0 days in browsers and VPNs and other edge devices. So the intellectual action has moved away from the malware binary itself toward the initial access vectors and the infrastructure exploitation. That's what I like doing, man. I like doing that part. So why write a complex rootkit when you can just exploit a 0 day in the perimeter firewall and gain full access without dropping a single file on a Windows host? You know what's funny? There was just a Palo Alto exploit with a RCE on it. I think an unauthenticated RCE. He's prescient. He's beginning to believe. Oh, the maintainer of the project you're pen testing wanted this advisories and CVEs. Oh, that's sick. That's a good turn of luck, laughing, because anytime I've done that, they'd be like, "No, you can't disclose anything." Like, fine, I didn't want to anyway. At least I'm getting paid. All right, so there's another section he's got here. Geopolitical filter in the ghosting of Western toolkits. So there's also a glaring double standard in the world of public threat intel. You'll find endless, meticulous reports on Turla or Lazarus, but you will almost never find deep dive analysis on the new advanced Western-made framework on a major security blog. Western IT security companies often deliberately avoid publicly disclosing complex Western APT malware in the fear that doing so might blow an active law enforcement or intelligence operation targeted at dangerous criminals or terrorists. So it's certainly within the industry that the Western security firms are well aware of various Western threat actors and their advanced toolkits. They actively track these groups and create detections for them within their products to ensure their customers remain protected, regardless of the attack's origin. However, they go to great lengths to avoid publicly disclosing them. Disclosing a Western-led operation is often seen as breaking an unwritten rule of professional courtesy or risking national interest, leading to curated public histories where advanced is labeled, or the advanced label is reserved for adversaries, while domestic capabilities are treated as non-existent phantoms. So, however, this one-sided reporting creates a significant narrative blind spot driven by operational concerns. It often neglects the reality of non-Western entities might also be using complex malware for similar purposes, tracking high-level threats or managing national security interests. So by disclosing non-Western toolkits like the Turla tools, purely as malicious while keeping Western tools entirely in the shadows, the industry created a skewed reality. It implies that the only advanced malware being written is the work of the East, while true peak of malware engineering, the silent modular ghosts of the West remain often hidden from public scrutiny. You know, I was aware of this, but I guess I hadn't really thought about it. I hadn't really thought about that. I know of some incidents of this, actually. Come to think of it, I can think of one in particular where a good buddy of mine was in that exact same situation. And I didn't think of it as being, let's call it a more common scenario. I thought of it as just being like a really weird one-off. But maybe that was a wrong assumption on my part. Hey, Hats, what's up, dude? As I'm living right next to Russia, I'm with the feds on this one. I know, man, you're in the hot spot. Let's see. So what about this too? He talks about advanced OPSEC, operational security. Phantoms in the wire. So we also have to acknowledge that real APTs have simply gotten better at disappearing. A decade ago, even advanced actors often made mistakes. They left debugging paths and binaries, reused C2 infrastructure, or failed to clean up after an operation. Today, the upper echelon of threat actors are phantoms. They employ rigorous operational security, utilizing volatile memory-only payloads and environment fingerprinting to ensure their custom toolkits only execute on specific victim machines. I mean, I do that. I don't want the malware payload I've prepared for a client to get somehow into a different system and then I have inadvertently compromised them because they ran the payload that I made for a client. So if an advanced actor does use a custom, highly complex piece of malware today, they go to extreme lengths to ensure a researcher never gets their hands on it. By the time the threat hunter arrives, the code has self-deleted, leaving nothing but an empty memory space and a feeling that something was there. Wasn't there something where they had first, someone had published a report and then changed the whodunit? Yeah, that was, who was that? I don't remember which threat intel group published that, but yeah, they basically said, they published it and said, hey, we are like pretty sure this was from China. And then the C-suite said, hey, you're going to screw up our business in China, change the attribution. And so they had to go edit the report for business reasons. You still haven't found the beacon I'm living in on your stream PC? Oh, dude, it's probably got 20 of them. The streaming PC is the weakest link in the whole house. Well, I don't know. Maybe the Ludus server. That one might be the weakest link. All right. He also talks about the talent migration and the automation trap. So the industry's most experienced malware researchers and threat hunters have largely been absorbed into massive machinery of global security vendors who are frequently consumed by the relentless mess of daily operational tasks. So the era of 60-page white papers have been traded for the development of proprietary detection rules and behavioral signatures. Technical deep dives that now serve as the silent hidden engines of high-ticket subscription services. For the modern researcher, the hunt has largely been replaced by the grind of wading through a never-ending mass of mediocre to low-level noise. Instead of dissecting modular espionage toolkits, they spend the majority of their time clearing out the digital junk of generic info stealers and low-effort ransomware. And this shift towards industrialization has ushered in a precarious era of automation. So while AI pipelines and sandboxes now handle the deluge of millions of low-tier samples, this efficiency has birthed a significant blind spot. Junior analysts, increasingly reliant on automated sandbox scores, are prone to missing the stealth masterpiece. Malware specifically engineered to stay dormant during automated checks. Furthermore, a significant number of veterans have simply opted out of high-stakes malware scene entirely, pivoting towards lucrative and arguably less exhausting careers in other areas. Dude, doing malware reverse engineering is exhausting. You have to be skilled in so many areas, and it's a constant like anti-debugger scenario where they're trying to put in checks to make sure you can't read what's going on in their binary, and you're disabling them, and they've got another check, and you disable that one. It is a constant back and forth. It's an entire mini cat and mouse game in and of itself. My Luda server was compromised for a while. I was using NetBird instead of Tailscale, and I kept finding foreign clients on my account. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. That's why some projects I've been on just consider every PC to be compromised. That's another way to look at it. I mean, that's kind of what the threat hunting approach is, right? Assume there's already somebody in the environment and go hunt for them. All right, so he wraps it up here saying basically the golden age of thrilling threat hunts and mind-bending malware teardowns may have faded, but it isn't entirely dead. Every so often, a report emerges that reminds us of what we've been missing, like the recent FAST16 analysis by SentinelOne, which uncovered high-precision software sabotage years before Stuxnet. We read about that one. That was a really cool one. Yeah, that was the one where they were tinkering with the floating point operations, and they were making it silently throw the calculations off. And when you're working with super high precision, even those, super tiny errors could mess up all their calculations and completely destroy their research. That was a really cool teardown. Needless to say, I don't use NetBird anymore. I like Tailscale. I've been having a lot of good use out of it. Oh, let's see. All right, so hold on. Let me finish up the conclusion here. So while custom toolkits certainly still exist, they're no longer common in the public sphere and are rarely reported for the various reasons outlined. So the tools of the trade have been aggressively commoditized, and the skilled defensive minds are now entrenched within massive corporate machines, protecting paying clients behind strict NDAs and premium paywalls. Ultimately, the lack of epic public reports isn't a sign that the threat has completely vanished. It simply reflects an ecosystem that has maturated, specialized, and hidden its most fascinating battles from the public eye. The blockbuster era of free deep dives may be over, but the complexity has just gone private. That's a good point. So looking forward, the rise of AI-assisted development is poised to exacerbate this trend. A large language model lowered the barrier to entry for malware creation. We will likely see an even denser fog of generic, boring malware in the future. This AI-generated noise will further commoditize the low end of the threat landscape, making the task of uncovering truly innovative custom toolkits even more like searching for a needle in a digital haystack. Yeah, no kidding. Actually, technically, you're looking for an awesome needle in a stack of needles, right? You're just looking for one that doesn't suck. All right, what is this? Oh, AWS. Why is your CSS atrocious? Your CSS is bad, and you should feel bad. Your CSS is bad, and you should feel bad. Ah, there we go. Give me my vertical space back. All right, this was also from Bobby. Let's see. So this is from AWS. They're introducing trusted remote execution, policy enforced scripts for AI agents and humans. Oh no. Oh no. So today we're announcing Trusted Remote Execution, or REX, an open source scripting runtime where every system operation is authorized by policy. Scripts are written in Raya, a lightweight language with no built-in system access. The only way to reach the host is through operations REX explicitly provides, which are authorized against a CEDAR policy upon invocation. Interesting idea. So running operations on production systems is a fact of life when you're managing software. Reading logs, check. I'm gonna be real with you. When I see that M dash, I get sus. I still get sus. Reading logs, checking disk usage, restarting a service. The problem is that most script execution environments give a script whatever permissions the execution context has. A script intended to read a log file can just as easily delete one. So this gets worse with AI agents. So when an agent generates and executes a script autonomously, there's no human in the loop receiving each system call. The usual safety nets of code review, approval, and allowed listing commands don't apply when the code is written at runtime. So we wanted a different model, one where an authorization policy defined by the service owner, separate from the script, controls what the code is allowed to do at runtime, and that's where Rex came in. Rex. Welcome to the Neuromancer or Johnny Mnemonic world. Corpos and families run everything. I'm gonna be real with you. I loved Johnny Mnemonic. I thought that was a great movie. Don't at me. I loved Johnny Mnemonic. All right, so how does Rex actually work? Let's see. Because I like this idea because the agents are actually very good at creating code, right? They're very good at it. And there's a lot of talk about, hey, don't give your agents MCPs, don't give them a lot of like command line access. You should be just giving them like REPLs to go run it, write and execute code. I highly recommend it. 44. Johnny Mnemonic was a great movie. I don't care what anybody says. It's got Ice-T in it. How could it be bad? Well, and it's got Keanu, and Keanu is a national treasure. Well, let's see. All right, anyway, go back to the article. Trusted Remote Execution pairs every script with a CEDAR policy. So the script says what to do, the policy says what's allowed, every operation is checked against the policy before it runs. So when a script runs, the Raya engine has no direct access to the host. The only way to reach the system is through Rex's purpose-built SDK of operations. Read, write, or open, and so on. Each of these, which evaluates the CEDAR policy, each of which evaluates the CEDAR policy before performing the underlying system call. If the policy doesn't permit the action, the script receives an error and the operation doesn't execute. So, for example, content is read temprex hello, info, and then write goodbye. And then the policy is permit principal action in, file system action open or read. Write is not listed. So it reads it, says hello world, but the write permission was blocked. The policy only permits open and read, but not write. Okay, kind of cool. Hey Holden, thanks for coming online. Welcome in. I love the dial-up noise. Sound of my childhood. I love old sci-fi, and I've got tons of audiobooks in the car for long drives. I need to figure out what I'm going to read next because I forgot like how fast I can actually read. I just finished rereading the Kingkiller Chronicles. Don't read it. It's a 3-book series, and I'm on book 2, and I've been waiting for book 3 for 14 years. Don't read it. Yeah, 14 years. So, it's the best book I can't recommend. Anyway, they're monster tomes too. They're huge. Like the audio books for each of them is like 40 hours to give you some perspective of how big they are. And I forgot how fast I could read because I was reading through those and it took forever. And then in the matter of no time, I finished, what was it? Project Hail Mary and The Martian. Like just bam, knocked those out. And I'm like, crap, now I don't know what to read. So I'm on the hunt for my next book now. Do you know it's 9:55 p.m. Do you know which Twitch streamer has pooped today? All of us. All of them. Hopefully, everyone. What's up, Paperclip? I'm not pooping, laughing. I'm right here. You weirdos. There's definitely no way I pooped 239 times on stream. And see, that's what I did with the Kingkiller Chronicles hats. I didn't know what to read, so I went back and I reread those. And it's painful too, because now and Sock has read both of them too, and they're fantastic, and there's so much that happens in them. And all I can do, like, I'll just be sitting there. Sock will be like on the couch next to me or something, and I'll tell her, it's like, hey babe. She's like, what? I'm like, I'm never gonna know what happens to both, or I'm never gonna know how he gets kicked out of the university, or how the whole thing starts, and blah blah blah. And she's like, yeah, I warned you. I was like, I know. Oh, I know you would laugh. I 100% know you would. Anyway, so let's take a look at going back to the Rex thing that AWS just put out. So they've got a case study they put here. So most agentic sandboxes constrain the agent. Rex constrains what the agent can do to the host, giving the host owner full control of what operations are permitted, regardless of what the agent requests. So if an agent generates a script that exceeds the policy, from a hallucination, a prompt injection, or an overly eager interpretation of the task, we've seen that. We've seen JSON born mode go full off on these agents. It receives a clear access denied exception rather than causing unintended side effects. The agent can observe this and take action on it and make adjustments. Interesting. So this makes it practical to give agents real operational access to doing whatever, while keeping a hard boundary around what they can touch. The policy creates a contract between the service owner and the agent, and Rex enforces it. Okay. You've got my attention now. Of course they wrote it in Rust, because they hate everyone. So Rex runs on Linux and Mac OS. You'll need Rust installed. If you don't have it yet, set up Rust. And then you can use this as like an example policy in here. So so in this case, here's how like creating an example Cedar policy. I've never seen Cedar before. This is kind of a weird syntax, but okay. So create a script that writes a file, then reads it back and returns the script content, makes it there, run it. So the write fails because write and create are not in the policy. And if you uncomment those, you get it. Okay. Very interesting. It's not abusive. He likes it. He's practically begging you to do it. I'm not. I laugh about it because you guys get such a kick out of abusing it. But at the same time, it's like, just read all the Sprawling books if you have not. They're on archive, bot, print, and audio. All right. So that's kind of cool. I like the idea. I probably won't use it. Oh, I forgot about this. So this guy had a really interesting breakdown of, let me see if there was new information here. We talked about this last week. I wanted to revisit it. You know what? I'm going to save this one because we have so much else that came up, but I'll drop a link to it. So there was a case where Grok had its own crypto wallet and it got drained. No, I dropped it in the wrong chat. There we go. It got drained for like 155K. And so it's a really neat read, but I'm going to save it for later just because we have so much else to cover. If we have any time left tonight, I don't know if we're going to, then I'll come back and circle back to it. All right, so what is this one? Let's see. Cloud Z-Rat, a stealthy new Trojan hijacks Microsoft phone link to steal your SMS OTPs. Oh, this is one Potion sent in. Yeah, this is pretty cool. And that's another reason why SMS OTPs are not good. The TLDR on that one, Hats, is, if I remember correctly, Grok does not have permission to, I think, send transactions. However, they found a way to give it permission to do that. And what they did is they sent it, I think, an NFT, if I remember correctly. And then once it had that NFT in its wallet, it actually gave it the ability to go through and then have the ability, like permissions to actually send it out there. It's pretty wild. I bookmarked this one because it had come up again. And I didn't get a really great breakdown of like what all had actually happened here. But the TLDR was they prompt injected Grok with Morse code. Yeah, they prompted Grok to prompt the Banker app to send an NFT coin. Yeah. It was pretty damn funny. All right. Oh, here, let me load this article up real fast. We grab this one for everybody. So yeah, this is one that Potion brought up that looked pretty cool. Well, let me pin that. And so this one is about basically using Microsoft's phone link to steal your SMS OTPs. Now, I didn't even think phone link was more or less a thing with Windows, so I'm learning something new here. What the heck is a perfo card? Is that like a punch card? I didn't know that one. Anyway, all right, so going to this article, newly discovered remote access Trojan turns a built-in Windows feature into a credential harvesting weapon, and it never has to touch your phone to steal your codes. Nice. So researchers at Cisco Talos have detailed an ongoing intrusion active since January, in which an unidentified threat actor is deploying a modular .NET-based remote access Trojan called CloudZ, paired with the previously undocumented plugin known as Pheno. So together, the two abuse Microsoft's phone link application to siphon off SMS messages, one-time passwords, and authenticator app notifications directly from compromised Windows machines. Just remember, it's not a bug, it's a feature. Oh, that's what you used to call them in the EU? Perforation cards? Oh, okay. I never heard them called that before, but I like the name. Perfo card sounds cooler than punch card. All right, so why this attack is actually important. So Microsoft's phone link, formerly your phone, is a legitimate Windows 10 and 11 sync utility that bridges a PC to an Android or iOS device over Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Once paired, it mirrors text messages, notifications, and calls onto the desktop and stores synchronized data locally into a SQLite database. So the convenience is exactly what the attackers exploit. Rather than breaching the phone itself, CloudZ, which is a really hard problem, CloudZ targets a PC-side artifact of an already trusted bridge. As Talos researcher Alex Karkins and Chetan Raghuprasad, there we go, put it in their analysis, the goal was stealing the victim's credentials and potentially OTPs without ever deploying malware to the phone. So the implication is significant for enterprise defenses. Control focused on mobile device security can be sidestepped entirely if the linked Windows endpoint is compromised. An SMS-based and even some app-based MFA flows that rely on push notifications become exposed the moment the desktop is. Nice. Nice. The Soviets didn't use familiar naming. Everything was dry scientific definition. That's about what I'd expect from Russians. From all Russians, really. I've known several of them, and yeah, they're very like cut and dry to the point. All right, so how does this infection chain actually play out? They don't know what the initial access vector really is, but basically once they've got a foothold, the execution of a fake ConnectWise Screen Connect update, typically named something like System Updates, appears. And there's a Rust compiled dropper that establishes persistence by spawning a hidden PowerShell script that creates a scheduled task, and that runs on the system startup. Then they've got a .NET loader disguised as a text file in a system directory. The loader executes via legitimate Windows binary, registm, under a system account. So it also performs heavy anti-analysis checks, timing-based sandbox evasion, enumeration of analysis tools like Wireshark, Fiddler, Procmon, and searches for VM or sandbox indicators in the system path and host names. And then finally, after that, then they do the CloudZ rat deployment. This was compiled in mid-January 2026, obfuscated with Confuser X. CloudZ decrypts and an embedded configuration opens an encrypted TCP socket to its C2 and enters command dispatcher mode. It pulls additional configuration from the attacker-controlled Cloudflare workers, good old Cloudflare workers, from the Cloudflare worker domains and from pastebin pages tagged with the handle hello, hi all. And it rotates through 3 hard-coded user agent strings and anti-caching headers to blend HTTP traffic with normal browsing activity. So to be fair, PhoneLink is a surprisingly nice idea with unsurprisingly bad implementation down to a barely working if lucky. It's the best protection if it won't work. That's how a lot of things are, man, these days. It feels like... I saw one of the funniest things, and somebody's like, hey, this is how it feels installing any NPM package now, and it's like playing... It's just a video of somebody playing Minesweeper and then hitting the bomb. It's like, that's exactly how it feels. So beyond phone linking abuse, CloudZ is fairly capable modular remote access Trojan. According to Talos, it supports browser data theft, host system profiling, file management, systems, arbitrary command execution. It downloads its plugins using a 3-method fallback. First attempting curl, then PowerShell's invoke web request. Really? Curl and invoke web request? Bruh. Finally falling back to bits admin lolbin to maximize chances the payload lands successfully. Really? That's your chance of getting the... You're going to use curl and then invoke web request? This fits in so nicely with the article we just read talking about the lack of sophistication in all these systems now. All right, so the big thing here, though, is after it gets to this point, they've got the Pheno plugin. So Pheno is a part of the toolkit that turns a generic rat infection into an OTP interception capabilities. So again, according to the Talos report, the plugin scans every process for keywords associated with phone link, like your phone, phone experience, link to Windows, and writes the results to a staging folder. It then performs a secondary check. It reads back its own output file looking for case-insensitive keywords like proxy. PhoneLink uses a local proxy connection to relay traffic between the PC and the paired phone. So the presence of proxy in a previous run's output indicates an active session. And when found, Pheno writes may be connected to its output file. CloudZ then reads the staging data and exfiltrates it to the C2 server. This is... Oh, so bad. It did say HTTP traffic, but I mean, that's pretty common nowadays, 44, because so much travels using HTTP over the internet that it's the easiest protocol to blend in with. It really is. Anytime I need another NPM package, I pip install. Nice. Nice. Yeah, not sponsored by Jocko yet. Oh, so you know what? That's awesome. Because of the green screen, you can actually see the green. This is what the green actually kind of looks like. Awesome. JavaScript should be packaged as a free gift with Rust and sent to Burkina Faso. I know. I hate JavaScript so much. I really hate that Claude Code is so good at writing bun JavaScript because that's how I usually have it write stuff for me. I hate that it's so good at it. That's actually one of the reasons why I like Codex better, because Codex is actually better at writing Python. Oh, let's see here. And then they go through defense recommendations, yada, yada, yada. That's still an interesting idea here. I don't know anybody who would use PhoneLink. Like, that's wild to me. I don't know if I would trust that kind of connection. Plus, what the hell's the point of having MFA if your phone, which is the M in the MFA a lot of times, is connected to the PC that's going to be requesting it? I'm like, come on. Hey, forward, what's up, dude? Yeah, any C2 could go grab that database. 100%. 100%. Actually, let's check out this one. This was another one sent over by, I believe, Potion. Dolphin X-Rat Technical Deep Dive and AI-Driven Defense. What? All right, let's take a look at this. So Dolphin X Rat is malware as a service toolkit advertised starting May 2026 by an actor named on breach forums, hack forums, and cracked. The actor claims 212 features across 9 capability categories. Threat level, moderate to high, depending on independent validation. The advertised feature set, HVNC, credential theft, metamorphic evasion, crypto clipping, and boot level persistence. Interesting. It reflects a mature, well-understood technique seen across other commodity malware families. No independent sandbox analysis or live samples have been confirmed at time of publication. How are you going to do a deep dive on it if no independent sandbox analysis or live samples have been confirmed? Okay, so I mean, we could go through and we could check like what they're saying it does, but come on, man. All right, I'm going to bail on this one. All right, you're saying this thing's wild? Okay, let me check on it real fast here. Let's see. Key defensive priorities. Do the bare minimum. That's what. Oh, I love this. Well, first off, you should have your UEFI secure boot already enabled. Enforce universal MFA to neutralize credential theft as lateral movement enabler. This was written by AI, wasn't it, Potion? This has every AI hallmark written on it. Deploy ML-based NDR to detect HVNC reverse channel C2 beaconing. Really? Most of them, I would say most of them. Most modern computers should be running UEFI secure boot anyway. Let's see. Sponsored to explore full UAC or auto UAC. Yeah. I mean, auto UAC is not a hard thing to pull off. UAC is not even a security boundary. Microsoft has said that themselves. Let me see what they talk about here. All right, technical breakdown. Remote control and execution with hidden VNC and remote shell. So HVNC exploits the Windows Create Desktop API to spin up a fully independent hidden desktop session running in parallel with the victim's active session. The desktop name property of the process attached to the hidden desktop will differ from the default or win login values. This is the primary behavioral indicator of compromise, BIOC. Come on, man. Come on. And forms the basis of any one of these. Okay. I'm sure this is really cool, but I can't get... This is... UAC only exists to make the sad sadder. It does. Okay. This sounds really awesome, but I'm familiar with Cyber News Network, and I don't think they actually write any of their own stuff, because this is 100%, I think, written AI. Because there's a smattering of stuff in here. Plus, I mean, yeah, it's cool to like look at what they're claiming, but also they have no live analysis of it. All right, hang on. Let me see what Dark Web Informer's got. Maybe they've got a better read on it. Yeah, Dark Web Informer's like, hey, subscribe to us for more stuff. But here, this is a shorter breakdown of it. So let's take a look at this. So the actor's advertising a 4 megabyte Windows-only remote access Trojan with claimed UEFI bootkit and metamorphic capabilities, and a Linux and Debian build reportedly in development. So the stealer looks at browser theft across Chromium and Gecko for cookies and passwords and autofills, Wi-Fi password harvesting, Windows credential manager dumps, sensitive file hunter, crypto wallet theft for Exodus and MetaMask, targeted app stealing for Discord, Telegram, Steam, Minecraft. Really? No Roblox? Scrubbed here. and system admin credential theft like FileZilla or WinSCP. HVNC remote desktop, reverse shell, file management, network scanner, crypto clipper, and reverse proxy controls. All right, here we go. So UEFI bootkit, multiple persistence methods, task scheduler and Windows service manipulation, anti-forensics, polymorphic, metamorphic, ultramorphic mutation. Really? I don't know if these even have technical definitions to them. Defender manipulation, firewall, and host file editing. I mean, that's cool. But at the same time, it's like they just threw the whole kitchen sink in there. Now, USB spreading is actually pretty cool. I wonder how they pulled that one off. It has a funny trolls feature. All right, Potion, what's the funny trolls feature? Yeah, Walrus, I mean, it's a little bit of a beatdown sometimes. So no one has much on it, but apparently it's a really wild remote access Trojan. It just evades analysis really well. Well, probably because the people that are being targeted by this are the people that don't have a lot of like incident response stuff, right? This is probably not something you're going to be using to go target like a big corporation where they've got, instantaneous like remote memory grabbing where they could like pull this stuff out. Give it time and it will probably accidentally find its way into one. Like, God, what was the guy who downloaded the Roblox cheats? The Gooner that got busted for it. I mean, don't get me wrong, the feature set sounds pretty cool. It's just there's not a lot to go off on, like what's being reported on it right now. Yeah, it was some, was it, yeah, it was some AI company. I forget which one. We covered that one on the stream, too. All right, what is this one? Oh, this one's about TanStack. Hang on. Because I've got a whole bunch about TanStack in here. Socket.dev put out some stuff on it. Let's see. That's Windows stuff. Let me put that over here. What else do we have? This one will be fun to read about. Hang on one sec, guys. Hey, guys. Give me a sec. Apparently, Honey Badger and Agent Zero passed out in my bed, and Sock cannot relocate them by herself. I gotta go contain the little mini ATP versions of me. Give me about 2 minutes. I'll be right back. I'm not pooping, you weirdos.
right, I'm back. I'm back. Guess who's back? Back again. Blaise is back. Tell a friend. All right. The little tiny APTs have been contained. Insert DiCaprio meme. Unfortunately, I'm too old for Leo. I wasn't pooping. I also had to let Peaches in because I put her out before the stream starts because she's such a little turd. Every time, like, I swear, when I hit, like, the go live button, she sets a 10-minute timer, and then she's like, okay, now I need to go out and poop. Every time. What is this? Critical Windows flaw. Hang on one second. I'm checking to see. Mini Shai Hulud. Another threat actor. Okay, I think this is... Yeah, here's another one for Tanstack. So, there's a lot that has come out here. I think these two might be kind of root cause. We've got the one officially from Tanstack, but here's what happened. Let's see. If I had the original post, I would say it. But anyway, two systems got hit by a supply chain attack. The biggest ones being Tanstack and Mistral. And this was from the 11th. Basically came out and said 373 malicious package versions, entries across 169 NPM packages were hit. Lots of tools. So, let's go look at this real quick. So this is the CVE, Critical Supply Chain Compromise in Tanstack packages via GitHub Actions misconfiguration. So this one says, on May 11th, threat actors executed a multi-stage supply chain attack against the Tanstack ecosystem. So by exploiting a pull request target misconfiguration in GitHub Actions, attackers poisoned build caches and extracted OIDC tokens from memory. Oh no. So that allowed the unauthorized publication of 84 malicious package versions containing credential stealing malware. Nice. So the attacker sent a PR. What? GitHub Actions triggered that. It injected artifacts, poisoned the GitHub Actions cache. That got ingested by the build, by the maintainer build, and then that trusted build runner extracted all those. Oh crap! What is OIDC? Yeah, OpenID Connect token, basically. And then basically use that to then get down to the NPM registry. So let's look at this real quick. So the CVE mentioned here is 2026-45-321. Describes a critical supply chain compromise affecting Tanstack's ecosystem. Wait, hold on. Is this an actual like vulnerability or a CI/CD? Like if it's a misconfiguration, there's no CVEs for misconfigurations, bro. So the attack surface centers around the Tanstack router repository's GitHub action configuration. The vulnerability class encompasses yada, 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 yada. Malware functions as a self-propagating supply chain worm dubbed Mini Shai Hulud. It specifically targeted sensitive developer credentials and cloud provider tokens upon installation. The incident highlights the inherent risk of shared execution environments. All right. I don't know if I mean, this one sounds kind of cool, but I think I want to start actually with Tanstack themselves. Where they actually, or this was from Socket, let me see. Yeah, so here's the actual Tanstack one. So let's start with that first. And then we'll see what socket.dev has to say with it. So this is from the company, the main company that got compromised in here. So on May 11th, an attacker published 84 malicious versions across 42 Tanstack NPM packages by combining the pull request target, pwn request pattern, and GitHub Actions cache poisoning across the fork in base trust boundary. The runtime memory extraction of an OIDC token from the GitHub Actions runner process. No NPM tokens were stolen, and the NPM published workflow itself was not compromised. Your CSS is killing me, bro. Give me 1 sec. I need to reclaim my page space here. Ah, there we go. And same thing with all this crap over here. Ah, there we are. Got pwned, that's right. Hey, Killer, what's up, dude? All right. So let's look at this. So the malicious versions were detected publicly within 20 minutes by an external researcher, Asha Kumuri, working for Step Security. The affected version had been deprecated. NPM security had been engaged to pull tarballs from the registry, and we have no evidence of NPM credentials being stolen, but we strongly recommend that anyone who installed an affected version basically burn down your system. So what does this actually do? When a developer or a CI/CD environment runs npm install, pnpm install, or yarn install against any affected version, npm resolves the malicious optional dependencies entry, fetches the orphaned payload commit from the fork network, runs its prepare lifecycle script, and executes a roughly 2.3 megabyte obfuscated router init.js, excuse me, smuggled into the affected tarball. That script harvests credentials from various locations, looking at AWS, Secrets Manager, GCP, Kubernetes, Vault tokens, GitHub tokens, everything like that. Exfiltrates those over a session in Onyx Messenger file upload network. It's end-to-end encrypted with no attacker-controlled C2. So blocking any IP address or domain doesn't mitigate it. Let's see. Actually, I'll tell you what. End-to-end encrypted with no attacker-controlled C2. So blocking by the IP and domain is the only network mitigation. It also self-propagates, so enumerates other packages the victim maintains and republishes them with the same injection. So because the payload runs as part of the npm lifecycle, yep, as they all do, as is tradition, anyone who installed the affected version must treat the install as potentially compromised. That's right. Actually, let's look at this real quick. So the pre-attack cache poisoning phase. So attackers created a fork of configuration, which is a fork of TanStack router deliberately renamed to evade forkless searches. A malicious commit authored on the fork was fabricated identity from Claude, adds a package history vite setup.mjs, which is about a 30,000 line bundled JS payload. And then, let's see, then they opened a pull request against the TanStack router main titled Work in Progress Simplify History Build. The build size YAML and labeler YAML, both pull request targets, auto run the pull request. The first time contributor approval required. Oh, sorry. So this is a flag. First time contributor approval. It said no first time contributor approval required because pull request target bypasses that gate. Dude, GitHub Actions are freaking cancer, man. So pr.yaml, which uses pull request, does not run and blocks pending approval that never came. Multiple force pushes by Zblig to the PR head, each triggering more pull request target runs. The force push lands in one of the commits on the PR head. Damn, there's so much going on here. The bundle size YAMLs and benchmark PR job checks out, ref merge runs a pnpm install, and then executes the vite setup MJS. So cache entry here saved to GitHub Actions cache for TanStack router, scope in ref's head, keyed to match what releases YAML will look up for the next push to main. Oh, interesting. Hang on 1 sec. I wanted to save this one for later because I want to do a little bit deeper analysis on this because there's a lot happening here. I want to go diagram it out. All right, so they poison the GitHub cache, right? That's what's happening. So rather than pulling these files every time, they've got a cache copy, and then bam, you poison the cache. It's just like you poison the file itself, but without actually poisoning the file. So Manuel merges PR 7369, nice, and the push to main triggers releases.yaml. Workflow runs and fails. npm registry receives a publish for tanstack history and 41 sibling packages. Publish is authenticated via the OIDC trusted publisher binding for tanstack, but it does not come from the workflow's defined publish packages step, which was skipped because tests failed. It comes from the malware running during the test cleanup phase, which mints an OIDC token via the workflow's ID token write permission and posts directly to the npm registry. Nice, that's right. So then, whatever run this is fails with completes with status failure. Manuel merges PR 7382, and the second push to main triggers. That workflow starts, same poison cache restored. Oh man. All right, so what's the root cause of this? Let's take a look at this. So 3 vulnerabilities were chained together. Each is necessary for the attack, and none alone was sufficient. So each are required, but not sufficient. So pull request target or pwn request pattern in the bundle size YAML. So bundle size YAML ran pull request target for fork PRs, and inside that trigger context, checked out the fork PR merge ref and ran a build. So let's see what they're doing here. So at checkout, refs build, tanstack config, benchmarks bundle, executes the forked controlled code right here. So the author of the workflow attempted a trust split. So the comment PR job is separated from the benchmark PR, with the comment in the YAML noting that with intent to keep the benchmark PR untrusted with read-only permissions. The split is correct in spirit, but misses 2 facts. So the action cache post job save is not gated by permissions. Cache writes use a runner internal token, not the workflow GitHub token. So setting permission content read doesn't block the cache mutation. RIP. And then the cache scope is also per repo, shared across pull request target runs. Let's see. And this is also which uses the base repo's cache scope and pushes to main. So a PR running in the base repo's cache scope can poison entries that production workflows on main will later restore. Oh, damn. All right, so that's the first problem. The second one was GitHub action cache poisoning across trust boundaries. So the malicious vite.mjs file was specifically designed to write data into the PNPM store directory under a key the legit release.yaml workflow would compute and look up. And so when the benchmark PR job ended, the action cache post step saved the now poisoned PNPM store to that exact key. And when releases.yaml, this is going to be the workflow file in the repository, next ran on a publish to main, its setup tool step restored the poisoned entry entirely as designed. So this is a class of attack documented by Adam Kahn in 2024. It's not a tanstack specific bug. It's a known GitHub Actions design issue that requires conscious mitigation. Oh, good old GitHub CI/CD runners. Let's see. So the releases.yaml workflow declares ID token write legitimately needed for the npm OIDC publishing or trusted publishing, and when the poisoned PNPM store is restored on the runner, God, there's so much verbiage overlay here, like so much collision. The attacker controlled binaries are now on disk and get invoked during the build step, and those binaries locate the GitHub action runner.worker process, run a maps, basically looking at the proc PID maps and proc PID mem to dump the worker's memory. Extract the OIDC token, which the runner mints lazily in memory, and use the token to authenticate post requests directly to the npm registry, bypassing the workflow's published package entirely. So this is the same memory extraction technique and verbatim Python script with attribution comment used in the TJ Actions change file compromise of March 2025. The attacker did not invent novel tradecraft, they recombined published research.
Yep. And so why none of this alone is enough. So the pull request target alone is fine for trusted operations. Cache poisoning alone requires a separate publish vehicle, and the OIDC token extraction alone requires existing code execution on the runner. So the chain only works because each vulnerability bridges the trust boundary the others assumed. So the PR fork code crossing the base repo cache, the base repo cache crossing into release workflow runtime, and the release workflow runtime crossing into NPM registry write access. Damn. That's a pretty wicked exploit chain there. It's nice. This is a perfect example of where I tell people, it's like, hey, they're like, oh, well, you know, if you found something that's of low severity in a penetration test, we don't have to worry about remediating those. So I was like, true, but there's been so many times when I have combined several low severity findings together, and they're just like freaking Ultron, and then become a very high severity finding. This one gave me a little piece, this one gave me a little piece, and this one gave me a little piece. And by our powers combined, we have Captain Critical Exploit. All right, so how did they find out about this? Detection was external. We saw that there was a guy from Step Security opened an issue about 20 minutes after the publish with a full technical analysis. Tanner received a phone call from socket.dev just moments after starting the war room confirming the situation. All right, they talk about what they could have done better, open questions. Okay, that brings up perfectly because I want to see what's going on from the guys at socket.dev. How did they notice this? And can they explain it any more clearly? Because there's honestly so much going on with those GitHub runners and which trust boundaries they're violating. It's hard for even me to follow, and I'm kind of used to this. Why y'all do this? Stop taking up my screen space. All right, here we go. So the socket threat research team detected a compromise across 84 NPM packages, artifacts in the TANstack namespace. So affected packages were modified to add suspected credential stealers targeting various CI systems, including GitHub Actions. I'm surprised they actually haven't mentioned the most interesting part of this. So this mini Shai Hulud variant actually had a dead man switch in it, where if you were compromised by it and it got like your GitHub token, and then it realized that that GitHub token was revoked, it would just nuke your whole system and delete the entire disk. Kind of interesting, huh? Let's see. Do they have an explanation of this? Recommended actions. Okay. Do you have anything else though? All compromised packages. List goes burr. Is that all we got, socket dev? Man, I was hoping for more. All right, here we go. Hold on. What do we got? Ah, there we go. Technical analysis. This is what I want. Yeah, oops, your PC's run into a problem. That's right. All right, so this was the actual piece of malware that got run as part of the actual infection chain, right? This was the whole thing. Everything we just read about was trying to get in here. So Router.net.js is a fully self-contained supply chain worm disguised as an initialization module for the TANstack router package family. The payload combines a credential harvesting engine targeting GitHub Actions, AWS, HashiCorp vaults, and Kubernetes with a worm propagation mechanism that steals an NPM OIDC token from GitHub Actions CI environments and autonomously republishes itself to the NPM registry under the stolen identity of compromised maintainers. Exfiltration is routed through session decentralization peer-to-peer network using an embedded signal service protobuf and onion routed S-node service. Wow, they're not even just publishing this out on GitHub anymore. They're like going full dark web. This makes the C2 traffic nearly indistinguishable from encrypted messaging app telemetry. Persistence is achieved by writing copies of itself into Claude Code's hook directory, nice, and VS Code's task runner, very nice, to survive across developer workstation reboots, extending the worm beyond CI to developer machines. The implant's 2.3 megabyte single line body heavy 0
underscore 0x dispatcher obfuscation and secondary beautify XOR decode layer with 148 encoded strings makes static analysis labor intensive without automated deobfuscation tools. Well, no kidding. That's how they all are. So the file opens the canonical obfuscator IO, JavaScript obfuscator string array rotation pattern, which is the self-invoking function that builds a large internal array of strings, then repeatedly rotates it until a numerical checksum matches. All string literals in the payload are replaced by calls into this array via a dispatcher function. So the primary dispatcher is invoked 2,864 times on the single source line alone. On top of the underscore 0x layer, the author implemented a secondary decode layer through a custom function called beautify. The function takes base64 encoded ciphertext strings and decodes them at runtime with likely an XOR or AES before using the results as an argument into process.env. So the double encoding is specifically designed to defeat simple grep-based string extraction environment variable names. Beautify. So the plaintext variable name of these beautify blobs are unknown without dynamic execution or key extraction. The confirmed plaintext access, not encoded, are listed in the stage 2 and 3 below, and the encoded set likely includes the remainder of the GitHub suite for full AWS credential names. Basically looking for certain environment variables is what it's looking for. Because this right here, what does process.env do? Yeah, it should be trying to pull key value pairs out of this right here. It basically should be going through and looking at all of these environment variable names that are listed here. Oh, dang it. I didn't link the article. Sorry, guys. There you go. So this is the one we're currently reading. Pin that. Pin. All right. Demonization and persistence. So the implant begins its execution by checking the presence of a process env demonized. If the variable is not set, the current process immediately forks a detached copy of itself with standard IO set to ignore, effectively severing the child from the parent's standard streams. So you can tell this was not set to run on Windows because that I don't think would work on. Actually, no, that should work on Windows. Be interesting. Hey, Sonny, thanks for coming online, man. Welcome in. I hope you're having a wondiferous Wednesday. All right. So after it does the fork and disowning of the parent, it exits clean. This ensures the malicious payload does not appear in the npm install script execution output, and the child process is fully decoupled from the installing terminal session. So what they're doing here is essentially like if you're familiar with NoHup in, damn it, come on. If you're familiar with something like NoHup in Linux, that's kind of what they're doing here if I'm reading this correctly. Is they're breaking the process subprocess inheritance. So they fork it, they disown it, so it goes up to the next parent process and becomes a member of that, and then kills it, so that way it's gone, but it stays alive. The install process was gone. All right. So the next thing it does is does an unref call to ensure Node.js does not wait for the child before exiting, making the parent's exit appear completely normal. Once running is detached, the implant writes copies of itself into 2 developer tooling directories to survive across reboots. We saw that earlier. They're writing this itself into Claude. Let's see. Oh, okay, so it actually sets up router runtime JS. Then in settings, it actually goes through and configures the hook. And then here is the actual ESM loader. And does the same, very similar thing over in VS Code. That's pretty cool. What, no lug for Codex? Man, throwing inadvertent shade on Codex. So the writing to the Claude settings.js is particularly insidious. Claude Code supports hooks configuration that executes shell commands in response to tool events. So by writing itself into that config, the implant ensures re-executes every time a developer uses Claude Code in the affected project directory. Okay, so they're not writing this into the user's home Claude Code. Looks like they didn't specify in here, but it looked like they were writing it. I thought they were writing it into the home directory. I guess they're writing this into the projects directory, which would still work. All right, what about environment fingerprint? Because I just talked about like what it does next for, basically like you can't npm uninstall it. It does the same thing over in VS Code. All right, so before harvesting any credentials, this implant profiles the execution environment across 3 dimensions. It looks like if it's a CI platform, this website is cancer. It looks at CI platforms, operating systems, and JavaScript runtime. And the gating prevents noisy credential requests in environments where they should fail or trigger alerts. So the implant contains large platform-specific arrays encoded behind Beautify, visible as like ES Linux, which resolves to dozens of decoded path strings. This suggests the platform conditional credential harvest paths, like for different ones for Linux and Mac OS. npms IO query seen in the network suggests the implant also performs an online lookup early in the execution. I think this is where it was trying to, I'm hesitant to highlight anything, but I think this code section right here is where they're talking about it's trying to see what other packages this person owns that it could infect and then send up. So once it does this, it moves on to credential harvesting, and the implant does basically the most extensive work here. It systematically sweeps every major secret plane available inside a modern cloud CI environment using direct environment variable reads and active API calls. So for GitHub Actions, the credential sweeps targets the runner's environment variable namespace and reaches out to the GitHub API to enumerate whatever repository level secrets it can. Nice. The per page 100 parameter is what it hits. So yeah, it hits this right here. It's basically, that's the largest page it can list. So it's just going to grab the first 100. If you got more than that, that's actually a pretty cool idea. Just go through and quit scrolling, you bastard. There we go. Go through and like just fill up your GitHub secrets, right? With a whole bunch of noise, and then like start your real secrets at like 101. I think that'd be a cool idea. So this means a SQL request harvests the full secret list for any repository and runner the admin has access to. Nah, we just found a way to defeat that. Just put a bigger list in there. AWS harvest operations across 4 distinct credential sources covering virtually every AWS deployment, looking at access keys, look at the region, the, what is that? AWS role number? I forget what ARN is. But ARN is kind of like the same thing as like an Active Directory SID. It tells you like, hey, this is exactly what this thing is. It also looks at HashiCorp vaults, does Kubernetes secret reads, and then it goes to propagation. So after it does all the credential harvesting, then it's like, okay, now we're going to go infect everything else. Let's see. So it exploits GitHub Actions OIDC federation mechanisms, which are designed to provide passwordless publishing to mint a valid npm publish token on behalf of the compromised CI identity. So the propagation flow does this. First thing it does is request that OIDC JWT from the action token endpoint, then exchange it for an npm publish token via npm's OIDC trust federation. Number 3 is identify the maintainer-owned packages, which is that npm IO search. And then number 4 is bundle a copy of the router init.js into the tar file archive. And number 5 is publish it under the latest distribution tag. Hey, Hydrogen, what's up, dude? Yeah, I had a pretty good day today. Pretty chill. Did a little bit of work. Went and saw my back doctor today. I forgot about that. I didn't mention it, but she said my back's doing fantastic. Thank God. Because I had a pretty severe injury to it about a year and a half ago. Oh, let's see here. Oh, so they also do repository poisoning via GitHub's GraphQL. So beyond npm, the implant targets the source repositories and maintainers whose credentials it's harvested. Using the GitHub GraphQL API with a stolen token, it commits copies of itself directly to repository branches. Nice. Nice. All right, oh, cool. I want to see more about this. Keep all them disks where they belong. I tried to, man, but one of them got BTFO'd last January. Not this January, but the previous January.
I don't know who Dr. Tubio is, guy. I have no idea who that is. Who is Dr. Tubio? I don't even know, man. If this is a meme thing, I'm behind. All right, so how are they doing exfiltration on this? Because this one's a little bit different. And I hate you so much. There we go. So in basically everybody's calling this mini Shai-Hulud, but Shai-Hulud had very definitive telltale marks to this. This is more like child Shai-Hulud. Child in that it's a derivative. It's not like in the same generation. Oh, okay. Dude, I have to go either to Orange County, which sucks, or Houston, which sucks. I have to go to either one of those. I'm from Dallas. I have to say Houston sucks. Orange County's goated. I don't know if there's anything that... He's known for the Tubio lift. You also can't spell Dallas forward without back-to-back L's. Just ask the Cowboys. Ugh, Cowboys. That's especially painful for me because even though I don't really follow football very much, they were just like knocking out Super Bowl championships when I was a kid. And I still want to remember them that way. And now, you can get more quarters out of $1 than you can out of the Cowboys. No way. Did they? Dude, no. The Cowboys won 93, 94, 96. Like, right when I was growing up. So I was 9, 10, and 12 when they were, like, just knocking out Super Bowls. So the Tubio lift is a special high-intensity chiropractic neck adjustment popularized by Dr. Alex Tubio, designed to relieve upper cervical tension and occupational headaches. It involves seated manipulation of the patient's head. Interesting. Well, mine is the disc that... I'm actually on the opposite end of the spectrum. My neck is jacked too, don't get me wrong. But no, the big problem is actually at the very base. The very lowest disc that usually receives the most damage first is exactly the one I did. And I blew that sucker out like it was nothing. And it wasn't even anything cool. I hopped off the back of a pickup truck. I don't even have like a cool like ATV riding story for it. It sucked. All right, hold on. Let's finish this one up real quick because I'm curious to know what they did for the exfiltration. So the implant makes an unusual choice for its C2 channel. Rather than a conventional HTTPS beacon to an attacker-controlled server, it routes all harvested credentials through the session decentralization messaging network. So the full session protocol stack, including the signal service protocol buffer schema, is embedded directly into the payload. Interesting. So routing exfiltration through Session's S-node network means C2 traffic appears as end-to-end encrypted messaging protocol traffic, indistinguishable from legit Session app usage at the network layer. The execute streaming function sends data across the peer-to-peer service node swarm. But it looks like there was a second variant to this. This file is the TanStack runner is heavily obfuscated JavaScript payload running in Node.js and Bun environments. Although it initially resembles bundled application code, the script behaves like a credential stealer focused on CI/CD infrastructure development systems. Does a lot of the same stuff though, and now it evaluates the process environment variables
looks for all the juicy credentials. And they basically can look for all the credential theft CI/CD stuff. All right, I'm not sure what's so different about this one. All right, then they go through the IOCs here. So, pretty interesting little piece of malware. God, this list. Look at that. It just keeps going. Just da-da-da-da-da. That's a lot in there. That's a crazy amount. Well, let me see if Aikido has another update to this. So they put out a report on it. Let me see if it's got an updated list of like what's compromised in here. GitHub Actions, let's see. Trigger configuration. Hang on, let me save this real quick. I want to see if they list like how many packages have been compromised, because this one was marking something like 360, but last I heard also there was a report of like it had ballooned up to like 700. Ah, they don't list it in here. Damn it. That's a cool picture. My plans for the week versus a supply chain attack on NPM. Yeah, it's pretty accurate. Okay, so they don't have anything else kind of updating here on how many things got compromised. I was hoping somebody had like an updated count of it. I do want to go look at this one real quick. Hang on. We already talked, or we might come back to that one. But yeah, this is from VX Underground. 2 new Microsoft Windows O days. The exploits have cool and badass mysterious names to be extra spoopy. Green Plasma, which is a Windows CTFmon arbitrary section creation, elevation of privileges vulnerability. I hate this term. Guys, we already have established terminology. It's a priv-esc. It's a privilege escalation. Elevation of privileges just sounds pedantic. All right, and then also we have Yellow Key, which is a BitLocker bypass. Yeah, that's cool. Now, hold on. I actually have a post from Chaotic Eclipse talking about this. So here are the links. Yes, 2 vulnerabilities this time. Defender has been spared because I know Microsoft will tighten the strings if I target one specific component too often. Don't ask how I know. Yeah, shallow and pedantic. That's right. I was thinking that one as soon as I said that. Yes, shallow and pedantic. Let's see. So here we go. So this is the same guy that released, God, what was it? The Defender bug. I forget what he named it though. Microsoft has chosen to make the worst instead of resolving the situation like adults. They pulled every childish game possible. My patience is running out and you're making everyone else pay for it. I hope you at least attempt to resolve the situation responsibly. I'm not sure what type of reaction you expected from me when you threw more gas on the fire after Blue Hammer. Blue Hammer, that was the one. That was the one that turned Defender against itself. That was beautiful. The fire will go as long as you want, unless you extinguish it or until there is nothing left to burn. This guy's pissed. Your recent actions made me take the difficult decision to drag other companies into this. Be prepared to answer questions. Next patch Tuesday, we'll have a big surprise for you, Microsoft. And remember, I never fail to deliver a promise. Dun, dun, dun. I do like that he PGP signed these as well. So that was on the 12th. Then the next day, he followed up with another one. I just noticed that Microsoft silently patched the Red Sun vulnerability. No CVE, no nothing, just silent patch. Not surprised they never admit their mistakes, but considering it was under active exploitation, having 0 advisory is insane. Now regarding Yellow Key, lots of you are wondering, how does one even find such backdoor?
I'll tell you how. Actually, yeah. So we'll talk about Yellow Key, but there's a lot of speculation, a lot of tinfoil hat ruminations coming around that this is wild and it's simple and it's effective and it bypasses BitLocker, and basically that it. The speculation is that it was left in as a backdoor, and that it was done on purpose. I don't think we know who this guy is. But here, if you want to read his ramblings, I'll drop a link to it. Here, this is his blog right there. Anyway, so hold on, let me go back to this. So now regarding Yellow Key, lots of you are wondering, how does one even find such a backdoor? I'll tell you how. It took me more time trying to get it to work than the amount of sleep I've had in 2 years combined. No AI involved, no help of any shape or form. I could have made some insane cash selling this, but no amount of money will stand between me and my determination against Microsoft. This dude is so pissed off at Microsoft that he is like, I will just burn you to the ground for free. Sometimes it's just about sending a message. Then he goes on, funny thing is, no one, and I say again, no one has managed to figure out how Yellow Key works. The real root cause is still not unknown. I think it's still unknown by the general public. I think it'll take a while even for MSRC to find the real root cause of the issue. I just never managed to understand why this vulnerability is so well hidden. Second thing is, no, TPM plus PIN does not help. The issue is still exploitable regardless. I asked myself this question, can it still work in a TPM plus a PIN environment? Yes, it does. I'm just not publishing the proof of concept. I think what's out there is already bad enough. So I can't wait when I'll be allowed to disclose the full story. I think people will find my crash out very reasonable and definitely won't be a good look for Microsoft. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to this. Also, Kung Fu Kimis, thank you for coming online. Welcome in. All right, so let's go look at actually what he's got for these here. So this is the researcher that's been publishing this stuff. I don't know what Red Sun is, though. I hadn't seen this. The two everybody was just talking about, though, was Green Plasma. So let's look at this one real quick. So Green Plasma is a Windows CTF-mon arbitrary section creation elevation of privileges vulnerability. Nerd! The real nerd is anybody who uses elevation of privileges. I said it. It's a privesk. Oh, Shy Hat. Hey, what's up, y'all? I don't know why the sound didn't play. The raid alert didn't go off. What's up, Shy Hat? What's up, all my hip hop hackers? Hang on, let me do the shout out here real quick. The Shy Hat. What were y'all up to? We are talking about one person's unabated rage at Microsoft in releasing O-Days as a part of it. I know, scuff stream. This is a very pro stream, laughing. We are I am a professional streamer here. Oh, very cool. Yeah. So hang on, I will link y'all to this because every repository that this person has is just Microsoft O-Days, right? They had a one here for Windows Defender Denial of Service tool, Bluehammer, which was the exploit to, I think, get code. Oh, what was it? Hold on. Yeah, I know. Let me see the repository. Oh, he didn't explain it in what this one was. But Bluehammer, if I remember correctly, which one was, let's see, what was Bluehammer exploit? I gotta remember. This one used Microsoft Defender against itself, and I think it was a race condition that, yeah, it was another local privesk. That's right, it was using a combination of the Windows Defender update process, volume shadow copies, and a time of check, time of use race condition. Yeah, that's the one. Get to system. Get your ass to system. So now we're looking at these other ones that got posted up. Green Plasma is another privesk through CTF-mon. I'm not dropping the full POC. I stripped off the necessary code for full system shell. This is a huge challenge for CTF lovers out there. The proof of concept will create an arbitrary memory section object in any directory object writable by system. If you're smart enough, you can turn that into a full privilege escalation, and you can influence the newly created section to manipulate data. Lots of services and even kernel mode drivers blindly trust certain paths since the standard user is not normally supposed to have write access to them. So, and this is just like one C++ file right here. Bam. And I'm not even going to try and read it because my C++ is honestly trash. And this person's probably doing some stuff pretty deep down inside of there. Like, they're creating registry keys. I'm not even going to begin to speculate on how this one works. Okay, Shahad, I totally understand. Thank you for stopping by with everyone. Oh, you were working on reversing Python stuff? Gotcha. Python's fun. Oh, and looking at the copy fail exploit. I apologize. I was getting so excited about this because it's just marveling at their sheer micro hatred. It's crazy. But thanks for stopping by, Shahad. I apologize. I missed your messages. I hope you have a great night. So for what I glimpsed, though, it actually sets up a flag that doesn't encrypt it once it's decrypted by the user, or maybe I misunderstood. Not even sure, P44. I haven't gotten a chance to look into these yet. But this is the one that's got really everybody up into a tizzy. Here is yellow key. C++ is for super nerds. I aspire to be smart one day. Yeah, me too, dude. Me too. I'm just a monkey with a keyboard. All right, so this is one of the most insane discoveries I ever found. Almost feels like a backdoor, but what do you know? Maybe I'm just insane. So how to reproduce. Copy the FSTX folder to your USB stick, system volume information, FSTX. As it is, you make sure you use a file system that's compatible with Windows. NTFS is preferred, but I think FAT32 or extended FAT should work as well. Funny thing is, the vulnerability is extremely convenient. You don't even need to plug in an external storage device. You could just pull out the disk, copy the files in the EFI partition, and put it back in. It will still work. No wonder why they said this is a backdoor. But anyway, in this example, they're talking about using a USB stick. Plug the USB stick into your target Windows machine with BitLocker protection turned on. Reboot to Windows Recovery Environment Agent, and you can do that by holding Shift and clicking the Restart button. Once you click on the Restart button, lift your finger off Shift and hold Control, and do not lift your finger off it. If you do everything properly, a shell will spawn with unrestricted access to the BitLocker protected volume. Now, why would I say this is a backdoor? The component that is responsible for this bug is not present anywhere, even in the internet, except inside WinRE image. And what makes it raise suspicions is the fact that the exact component is also present in the exact same name in a normal Windows installation, but without the functionalities that triggered the BitLocker bypass issue. Why? I just can't come up with an explanation beside the fact that this was intentional. Also, for whatever reason, only Windows 11, which is Server 22 and 2025, are affected. Windows 10 is not. That's wild. Yeah, fix that shit. Now, hold on, what was Red Sun? Because they said that the Red Sun got silent patched. Normally, I would just drop a POC code and let people figure it out, but I can't for this one. It was too funny. When Windows Defender realizes that a malicious file has a cloud tag, for whatever stupid and hilarious reason, the antivirus that's supposed to protect decides that it would be a good idea to just rewrite the file it found again to its original location. The POC abuses this behavior to overwrite system files and gain administrative privileges. Oh, that's funny. I'm surprised I didn't see this one because this was posted last month. Well, last month was like 2 weeks ago. But yeah, so this person is just absolutely ripping on Microsoft, and I am here for it. What do they have in here? Nothing. What do they have in their older posts? Hold on. Anything older? Let's see. Public disclosure. First post, I never wanted to do this. Check out this tweet on Yellow Key. All right, hang on. Oh, I think I saw this one. Hang on, but I'm glad you brought it up. Hang on. So this is from Impulsive, who is... I don't know who this guy is. I'm going to follow him, though. If Solstice of Astarte is following this person, they're probably pretty legit. Solstice has good taste. So I just reverse engineered the yellow key BitLocker bypass. Microsoft shipped code that checks for a flag called fail relock. Okay, I did see this one, yeah. And every Windows 11 recovery image, when it's set to 1, after recovery unlocks your BitLocker drive, it never relocks it. All you need is a USB stick. So the code only exists in the recovery environment, not in normal Windows. They left the entire debug testing framework in production. Oh my. Oh my. So how it works. The recovery tool looks for a config file called recovery simulation.ini on the OS drive. If active equals yes, it enables test mode for the recovery tools. Test mode unlocks your BitLocker drive, but a flag called fail relock tells it to skip relocking. Command.exe spawns with full access to your encrypted drive. RIP. RIP-a-roni. This is Microsoft's 5th WinRE BitLocker bypass in 3 years. Oh, that's funny. Hey, Bobby, what's up, dude? That is awesome. Hold on. Love it, and love it. Yes. Yes. Amazing. I normally never want to attribute malice where stupidity will be a sufficient answer, but I don't know which way to go on this one. Oh, okay, hold on. I gotta cover this one too. Since we're bashing on God, my nose is itching. Since we're bashing on Microsoft some more. Critical Windows DNS flaw lets attackers run code on any machine without logging in. Yeah. Windows DNS Client RCE, heap overflow in DNS API DLL. DNS cache restarts after every crash. No login required. CVSS 9.8. That's a pretty high CVSS score. Let's see. Microsoft patched a critical heap buffer overflow in the Windows DNS client. An attacker needs no account and no help from the person sitting on the machine to trigger it. Every Windows machine that performs DNS lookups is potentially in scope, and every Windows machine performs DNS lookups constantly. Yes, they do. So the vulnerability is tracked as CVSS 2026-41096 and has a CVSS score at 9.8. Juicy. Just barely missed the 10 score. So it sits in the DNS API DLL, the file that handles all the DNS lookups on every Windows machine. Let's see. All right. So every time a browser loads a page, an application connects to a server, VPN establishes, or a Windows checks for an update, the system sends out a DNS query asking what IP that belongs to. The DNS client receives the answer, processes it, and passes it along. Yeah. Isn't that a haiku, Bobby? It's not DNS. There's no way it's DNS. It was DNS. Oh, too funny. Yeah, the OG IT haiku. It's not DNS. There's no way it's DNS. It was DNS. All right, so let's look at what the flaw actually does. So when a DNS response arrives, the DNS client reads what came back and picks out the information it was looking for. The flaw is in how it handles the data fields inside those responses. A response with a broken or oversized data field can cause the DNS client to write more data into memory than the space set aside for it. In memory terms, a chunk of space was reserved for the answer, the malicious response is larger than that space, and the overflow spills into memory next to it, where the attacker can plant code or take over what runs next. So this is a heap-based buffer overflow. So the attacker needs two things to trigger it. Windows machine that processes DNS responses, which is basically every machine, and a position to send the machine a malicious response that, basically, yeah. So some kind of like almost man in the middle. Not exactly, though. There you go. I restarted the DNS stream. Or the DNS stream. All right, now it's working. Freaking YouTube. What the hell? Kick is doing it too? Damn it. Yeah, no, I'm getting DNS cached right now. Hey, Nerduino, what's up? Oh wait, hold on. Is that one of the Cyan emotes? Yeah, I love Cyan. Cyans, they're funny. Good peoples. Very good peoples. By the way, guys, Nerduino is here in the chat. If you like space content, that's what he does. And I'm not a giant space nerd, but a pretty big one. And I love his stuff. Hold on, I'm going to do that. Yeah, real quick. Give Mr. Nerduino the shout out. All right, so let's look at this. So what happens here? So you need something where you can either intercept or modify a DNS response. Midem 6 actually may be like choice for this. Or anything that's using like maybe MDNS or LLM&R you could possibly do this with. So you could also use like a rogue DNS server or some kind of man-in-the-middle position in the network. Yeah. Public Wi-Fi networks are hotel connections, coffee shops, captive portals before VPN connects. Compromised home routers or poisoned corporate DNS resolvers could all give the attacker the position they need. That's right. The DNS client service, internally named DNS Cache, runs as a NT Authority network service. And that's not full system control, but it gives attacker enough access to chain more attacks from there. Rapid7 noted in their report, the DNS client runs as network service, not system, but attackers chain multiple weaknesses together. Basically, it gets you access onto the box, but not God mode access. The DNS API has handles into all sorts of DNS record types, caching, retry logic, and basically everything else like even DNS over HTTPS. And so every added feature means more code processors that the attack for attacker-controlled input. Microsoft called exploitation unlikely in the advisory, but Dustin Childs of the Zero Day Initiative responded that since the DNS client runs on virtually every Windows machine, the attack surface is enormous, and an attacker who can influence DNS responses from a rogue server or from a man-in-the-middle position could run code on every unpatched machine in an entire company without even logging in, right? Better hope those DNS servers are patched against Dirty Frag. Let's see. No problem, Edwina. No, I can't talk tonight. No problem, Sir, Professor, Sensei, Nerduino. All right. What else we got here? Microsoft's advisory, yada, yada, yada. Let's see. Actually, Microsoft's own advisory added a detail worth paying attention to. In certain configurations, this allows an attacker to run code remotely without authentication. Microsoft has not specified which configurations are required, and those details aren't public yet. Until they are, treat every unpatched Windows machine as potentially at risk. That's what I do anyway. Oh, you got a Windows machine? Yeah, it's got malware. It's rooted. Let's see. So there's one more detail about the DNS cache service worth knowing. When it crashes from a failed exploit attempt, Windows restarts it automatically. So the person at the machine notices nothing, and the attacker keeps trying until something works. And that's always a risk with any kind of heap exploit. If you crash the service, you don't get it back. But Windows is just like, oh no, we need DNS. Restart it. I'll treat them all as compromised. No offense. Dude, that's what I do. Let's see. I don't know if it's got any more information in here that's worth looking at. Let's see. Yeah, it just provides a couple more pieces of like interesting information, but that's pretty cool. A DNS RCE? Nice. Nice. Let's see. Oh wait, I got a fun one for y'all here. I got to cover this one. This guy, Andres Bakassi, founder of Coolify.io. We made a fake repo with fake bounties, and the bots are applying fake PRs, so we know who is fake, and we can ban them from the Coolify repo. I was like, okay, that's brilliant. That is awesome. Yeah, just start ban, ban, ban. But then Gabriel here just came up with the like this is like a 1,000 IQ play. I'm gonna be legit with you. This is the 9,000 IQ play. I would add some automation that keeps requesting vague changes to each PR that is open. E.g., something is wrong. Please re-implement. So they keep burning tokens. Yes, yes. Turn the bots against themselves. It's over 9,000. That's a 9,000 IQ play right there. I love it. I love it. So yeah, this is beautiful. I love this idea. The only thing that would be better is if they shared this list. Like, hey, here's people we banned for putting in fake PRs. That would be the only better thing. Let's see. Actually, hold on. This was also about Mini Shai Hulud. Hang on one second. Let me see if they mention how many packages have been compromised. Because it was a big number here. Let me see here. I'm saving some of these because I want to do my own post-mortem on this because this goes through so many steps. I want to go look at this. The number's too big to count. I know, right? Yeah, they don't list how many were actually listed in here, but that's okay. All right. I want to talk about this one too. Zach XPT basically goes through and investigates a whole bunch of these basically like scammers. And you know what? I got no sympathy. No sympathy for them. Meet Dryden Kaplani Jr., a US-based threat actor tied to $19 million from social engineering thefts targeting crypto holders. Drifton flexes luxury cars, watches, private jets, and clubs all over social media. Recently, he was recorded on a call showing off a wallet with stolen funds. That's my favorite, when a white boy keep dropping the N-word and flexing and have zero OPSEC. I know, right? Boop. Let's love this one. So let's look at this real quick. So Drayton, I'm gonna go with that, was caught flexing $3.68 million on his Exodus wallet during a band for band BB on a Discord call on April 23rd, trying to prove he has more money than another threat actor. I want to go look at his wallet real quick. Let's see. These are all coin. I want to see like, dang it, what's the site? Damn it. I gotta remember what the site is to look up ETH wallets. I haven't done it in so long. Etherscan, that's the one. Yeah. Etherscan.io. Let me go look at. I want to go look and see what this guy has got in here. Does you still have anything in there? Let's see. I love this though. This reports this address was used in social engineering thefts. Please exercise caution when interacting with it. Reported by Zach XPT. Current ETH balance 259 ETH. Damn. Token holdings. Across 5 different tokens. He has 10,000 pepes worth 4 cents. He's got a whole lot of dye in here. Yeah, I would like to have some more of that. This is funny. There was an outflow from here, 1 ETH, to Zach XPT a bitch.eth. Hold on. Hang on. I'm sure somebody's already mentioned this to him. I'll mention it after the stream. I don't want to do it right now. But I think he's salty. He's salty. Because 1 ETH right now is like $2,300. This guy basically spent $2,300 to send a message. Anyway, let's go on and see what else he did here. So I traced 0x44x7 back to 185 BTC, worth $13 million social engineering theft on March 14th. The theft address was here. Dryden's Exodus wallet received $5.3 million from this theft on March 15th. By the B4B, 6 weeks later, $1.6 million had already been spent or laundered. Yesterday, being May 11th at this point, a criminal complaint against Trenton Johnson was unsealed for his role in the 185 BTC theft. He's facing up to 40 years. Co-conspirator number 1 in the complaint is Drayton. He hasn't been formally charged yet. Memecoin KOL was also charged for helping them launder funds through his Miami rental car business. Oh, money laundering, dude. Facing 30 years for that. Ironically, Drayton previously did a B4B. I don't know what is a B4B. I know it stands for band cankles. Also, what's up, dude? I just don't know like what it actually is. It's basically which skid has more money. They go on a Discord call and flex their shit in cash. Oh my god, really? Comparing money stacks. That's right up there with the stupidity of token maxing. Anyway, so then he goes on to report, ironically, Drayton previously did a B4B with John Dicta. Yeah, I'm going to say Dicta, which led to my January 2026 investigation of a $46 million theft from the U.S. government by John and later his arrest. John posted one of Drayton's old wallet addresses in a now deleted Telegram post in retaliation. Based on my own assessment, the address looked accurate as Drayton moved funds from the same laundering service within minutes of the 185 BTC theft. Basically, they're talking shit by putting up money, and if you can't match it, you're not on their level. Yeah, if you're talking about crypto bro threat actors, not smart people. These aren't even threat actors. They're just legit scam artists, bro. So the source of funds, I get these guys, like, they freaking call me all the time, and they're like, hey, we're calling from Coinbase, and we're requesting to know if you have requested a security thing. If this wasn't you, press 1. And they connect me to somebody, I mess with them so hard. And the worst thing they can do is call me when I'm driving, because then I had nothing but time and opportunity, baby. It's like my favorite driving pastime. I don't know how they know, but they always know when I'm in the car. And bam. All right. What else did he say here? So the source of the funds traced back to $5.85 million stolen across 5 other high-confidence social engineering thefts in 2025. He lists a bunch of the theft addresses in here. Wonder what he's using to track this. This is a very nice interface. I like this. I wish I could zoom in on it. You're killing me. So Drayton lives an extravagant life, regularly posting on Instagram and sharing it with other threat actors on Telegram. Zero OPSEC. It's always OPSEC that gets him caught. So I assisted one of the affected parties for the investigation by uncovering the on-chain activity that linked Trenton and Drayton, however, held off posting until the charges became public. Drayton is known within the comm for having lots of plot armor, as all of his friends groups have kept getting arrested without him. So I think this is partially due to him having been a minor up until recently, since law enforcement typically holds off on prosecuting minors. Dude, I don't care if you're a minor. If you're out there scamming people, lock him up. He just turned 18, so hopefully now his borrow time is finally up. There's actually 2 things to this. He could be, yeah, he's a minor, but also he's probably folding like laundry and snitching on all of them. Because what's the common denominator here? All these guys get busted, but not him. I smell a rat. He went shirtless with that build, said the N-word, flexed a bunch of stolen funds. How to get feted 101. I know, right? Yeah. Maybe they were waiting so they could charge him with max time and not a misdemeanor. One could only hope, man. Freaking hate scammers. I've had to educate my own mother about them. And it's been a nightmare. All right, what else do we got here? We got a little bit of time left in the stream. Okay, this was actually a really cool repository that Potion sent over. VM aware. Library is easy to use, cross-platform. Hold on, what do they describe it here? Advanced VM detection library and tooling. What are we written in? Mostly written in C++. All right. A little bit of Python. But those are probably just helper scripts. Oh, yeah, here. Let me drop the link to this one real fast. There you go. Hey, Ken, what's up, dude? I can't properly fold laundry to save my life, so my friends are safe. Let's see. So the library is cross-compatible multi-architecture, features around 90 unique VM detection techniques. Hey, Stovepipe, 169, nice. Thanks for coming online. Welcome in. So this would be something like a library you would use to see if something was running inside of maybe not necessarily VMware, but some kind of virtual environment. Because it says right here, able to detect around 70 VM brands, including VMware, VirtualBox, QEMU, Hyper-V, and much more. So pretty big ass list. Able to beat VM hardeners, very flexible, with fine-grained control over which techniques get executed. Able to detect various VM and semi-VM technologies like hypervisors, emulators, containers, sandboxes, and etc. Let's see. Header only, feel free to external dependencies. Memoized, meaning past results are cached and results if ran again for performance benefits. Okay, cool. Linux security engineer? My brother, you probably got your work a little cut out for you right now. I feel for you. Got copy fail and dirty frag both dropping just like bah, bah. Starting a new job on Monday. Man, that's pretty awesome though. Good job. Congrats. I hope it's going to work out well for you. Copy fail is beautiful, and so is dirty frag. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. Let's look at the library structure here. Can I get a bigger picture? All right, so we have general utilities looking at file IOs, debug systems, memory processes, HyperX mechanisms. Let's see. Technique table stores all the VM detection techniques. Local cache for results. Brand table stores scoreboard table of every VM brand. And then so this is the private components. The public components are VM check, percentage, detect brand type, returns the VM type, returns the most likely VM brand, Boolean, true or false if it detected it's in a VM. You know what I just realized? So there was talk earlier, I don't know if I mentioned it on stream, but there are certain variants of malware that won't run on your system if they detect you have the Russian language pack installed. And then if you went through and enumerated how some of these are working, right? And you falsely put them into your machine to make it look like your machine is always running inside of a VM, you'd probably cut down about 80% of the malware that could land on your box. Oh, I'm in a VM? Oh, I'm getting analyzed. Delete myself. Oh, I got the Russian language pack? Continue on, comrade. До свидания. Yeah. Instructions clear as vodka. Shub Stealer was for Mac detects in Russian. If it has a Russian keyboard, nice. Yeah, this one's pretty cool. Also has a nice CLI tool. So the project also provides a handy CLI, utilizing the full potential of what the library can do. It also is cross-platform. Nice. Checking VM ID, CPU ID, timing anomalies, system devirtualization. Cool. Very interesting. Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. Make a partner one to this and call it like VM Shadow. right, or VM Phantom, and make it look like your computer's running in a virtual machine. The funny thing is, my Lenovo laptop I use has like 8 gigs of RAM, but gets flagged as a virtual battery VMware for some reason. One of the things they might also be flagging is that 8 gigs of memory, because until the freaking RAM sharing, right, when all the RAM just ascended on high into the AI clouds, 8 gigs of RAM was not the floor, right? Usually it was like 16. And Microsoft banged the drum because they made Windows 11 so criminally inefficient that they mandated all the hardware providers, if you want to run Windows 11, you need to have 16 gigs of memory on your laptops. Otherwise, Microsoft would be like, nah, you're cut off, bro. And then RAM sharing happened. I love that term, the RAM sharing. No one else uses it. I think I'm the only one, but I still like it. I think it's funny. All right, I think we got time for one more here. I'm surprised we got through so much of the news as we did. Let's see. The Google Threat Intelligence Group AI Threat Tracker. Adversaries leverage AI for vulnerability exploitation, augmented operations, and initial access. Might as well call it RAM Ranch. Hey, what's up, Sick? There's already a new variant of Dirty Frag? What? It wouldn't surprise me. That's going to be an entire class of exploits, and they're just going to find it in different places. Hold on. Let me look at this real quick. Oh my god, and they all have names. Fragnesia, Linux kernel exploit via ESP and TCP. I told you. And the first Dirty Frag variant was IPsec ESP. Oh my gosh. Fragnesia. So the vulnerability impacts Linux kernels, XFRM, ESP, and TCP subsystem. The vulnerability allows unprivileged local attackers to modify read-only file contents in the kernel page cache and achieve root privileges through deterministic page cache corruption. So the exploit uses user and network namespaces to obtain CAPNet admin privileges within an isolated namespace, installs a crafted ESP security association through Netlink XFRM, and repeatedly triggers controlled single byte writes into cached page files. Ooh, this is a tiny twist on it, because I think Copyfail and Dirty Frag both worked on a 4-byte write into the page cache. This is saying it's doing controlled single byte writes into a cached page file. So the researchers demonstrated overriding the first bytes of the SU binary with a small ELF payload that invokes set SUID 0, basically, set to root, and executes bin sh, resulting in a root shell. The modification exists only in page cache memory and doesn't alter the on-disk. Yeah, we've already talked about that. Usage of AppArmor restrictions on unprivileged user namespaces, such as those default in Ubuntu, may serve as a partial mitigation. I'll be real with you. I don't know much about AppArmor, but it'd be cool if there was something that people could at least put in as like a, hey, Stovepipe, you know about AppArmor. Do you think this would be something that actually may work on this? Since if you do, I'll say I don't know diddly about AppArmor. I do not run Linux as my daily driver. I am considering it very hard. So the problem is, it's really a pain in the ass to do live streaming from a Linux machine. It really is. Otherwise, I would totally have just, after this computer died, and in fact, I still have the old processor here that died, right? It's sitting in its own special little chair right over here, right next to the computer that's running the new processor. And it has to just watch me play with the new computer and processor. Yeah, you know the chair. You know the chair it's in. So, yeah, it's sitting right there. Yeah, see, I don't know anything about AppArmor either. I know of it, and I just, but that's about it. I literally don't know, like, what it's doing and how it's functioning. I just haven't read up on it. However, to answer your question, if I was daily driving Linux, I don't know what I would be driving. possibly, as much as it pains me to say, maybe some kind of Arch derivative. But there's a lot of stuff I've got to do on this computer that's like just taking care of stuff around the house. And so I'd have to have something that was running, and I'm also most comfortable on Debian derivatives. However, I really did like some of the stuff when I was tinkering around with what was that? Omarchy. I know they say it's Omarchy, but no, Omarchy. I liked Omarchy, and it kind of opened my eyes up to a little bit of the Arch Linux world. Black Arch for pen testing. Yeah. And so I don't actually use Kali too much. CachyOS was the one I was trying to think about. Besides CISO Master. That's the one I was trying to think about, actually. Someone recommended that to me because Omarchy is neat, but it's got its own little weird bugs. And so it would not be a daily driver. For like a little portable laptop, it'd be fine. Back in the day, I ran Arch as a daily driver, but not so much. I always, I always used to just rip on people that ran Arch all the time. And now I'm kind of like, ooh, maybe I do want to tinker with a little bit of Arch right there. All right. That's hilarious. Being able to do this is actually pretty cool, though, because as like I said, compared to copy fail and dirty frag, this was doing single byte continuous rewrites. I think that's hilarious. I'd probably go with Fedora, stable but still current. I kind of messed with Fedora back in the day, but I've never been real big on the Red Hat derivatives. I can't do it for some reason. They bug me, and I can't place my finger on it. Maybe it's because I'm too much into the Debian world. Yes, Arch users are like vegans. They are. You never have to ask either one. They'll tell you. Yeah, I don't know why the Red Hat derivatives always just kind of like, I don't know, they just bugged me, and I'm like, ugh. But Debian, I'm just like, hey, this works out well. Oh, don't forget crossfitters. Yes, definitely don't forget crossfitters. All right, let's go see what they're saying about this real quick. This will be the last article for tonight, and then we've got to wrap it up. We're getting towards the end of the stream. But yeah, so let's see what they're talking about, how the more of the AI boogeyman's coming to hack us all. So since February 2026, our 2026 report on AI-related threat activity, Google Threat Intelligence, GTIG, has continued to track a maturing transition from nascent AI-enabled operations to the industrial-scale application of generative models within adversarial workflows. This report, based on insights derived from Mandiant Incident Response Engagements, Gemini, and GTIG's proactive research, highlights the dual nature of the current threat environment, where AI serves as both a sophisticated engine for adversary operations and high-value targets for attackers. We explore the following developments: vulnerability discovery and exploit generation. Well, good. We kind of know how that's all coming. So for the first time, GTIG has identified a threat actor using zero-day exploits that we believe were developed with AI. That's a strong claim, and I'm not saying it's wrong. I want proof. I want to know what your evidence is for it. Criminal threat actor planned to use it in a massive exploitation event, but our proactive counter discovery may have prevented its use. The threat actor is associated with the People's Republic of China and the Democratic Republic, People's Republic of Korea. So China and Korea. Also, shout out for B-Sides Pyongyang. Have also demonstrated significant interest in capitalizing on AI for vulnerability discovery. They also have AI augmented development for defensive evasion. AI-driven coding has accelerated the development of infrastructure suites and polymorphic malware by adversaries. Ooh, he said the word polymorphic. Pulled it out of the code cave. And so these AI-enabled development cycles facilitate defense evasion by enabling the creation of obfuscation networks and the integration of AI-generated decoy logic and malware that may have linked to a suspected Russian Nexus threat actor. See? Install that Russian language pack. I daily drive Cachy now, and I love it, but as with all things in Linux, your needed programs are what are going to make or break it. Yeah, see, that's one of the problems I've got. I've got certain programs I need to be able to run reliably. One of them being the program that lets me stream this computer over to the streaming computer so then I can stream it out to the internet. Let's see, what else we got here? Autonomous malware operations. AI-enabled malware, such as Prompt Spy, signal a shift towards autonomous attack orchestration, where models interpret system states to dynamically generate commands and manipulate victim environments. Our analysis of this malware reveals previously unreported capabilities and use cases integrated with AI. The approach allows threat actors to offload operational tasks to AI for scale and adaptive activity. Let's see, augmented research and IO, obfuscated language model access. Oh, actually, hold on, let me see what this. Threat actors now pursue anonymized premium tier access to models through professionalized middleware and automated registration pipelines to illicitly bypass usage limits. This infrastructure enables large-scale misuse of services while subsidizing operations through trial basis and programmatic account cycling. And then also we got supply chain attacks. Adversaries like Team PCP, aka UNC6780, have begun targeting AI environments and software dependencies as an initial access vector. So these supply chain attacks result in multiple types of machine learning focused risk outline. Yeah, that's right. This is a long ass report. Let's see. They're talking about basically doing external or enhanced vulnerability research. That's been a big deal ever since Mythos was announced. And they're like, oh my God, look what Mythos is doing. And everybody's like, hey, cool, we reproduced Mythos. Good luck. Have fun. Dr. Reiki, what's up, brother? We're talking about how the AI is going to end all of security. Again. Yep. It's happening again. Oh, I didn't share the link for this one. Hang on one second. Let me drop that in the chat real fast. Boop. There we go. In that. Boop. Here we go. This is a long report, so we're almost out of time for tonight, unfortunately, so I'm going to peruse it real quick. Let's see. So talk about building 0 days with it, doing stuff. Actually, here we go. Let me see about this. AI augmented obfuscation for evasion and polymorphism. So they pulled this out of the code cave. GTIG has identified multiple threat actors experimenting with AI models to develop malware and operational support tools to augment obfuscation capabilities. This has included innovative applications of AI to incorporate just-in-time dynamic modification of source code, enable dynamic payload generation, assist in development of orb network management tools, and generate decoy code. While often experimental, this transition underscores a move towards AI-driven, evasive software suites. So in prior reports, and they give a little table here, breakdown, like prompt flux was dynamic modification, autoskew, evasive payload generation, decoy logic. So in prior reports, we highlighted malware families like prompt flux, notable for its experimentation with using Gemini API to generate code, and honestqueue, which interacts with Gemini's API to request specific VB script obfuscation and evasive techniques to facilitate just-in-time self-modification to evade static signature detection. In this report, we highlight additional tools and malware families created with the assistance of AI to support obfuscation and defensive evasion. The curl maintainers got interesting thoughts on Mythos. Kind of want to check that out. Because honestly, this is all kind of cool, but hang on, I'm going to bring it up. We'll see if we can get through it real quick here. Oh, good old curl. I do love me some curl. Hang on, let me see if they got anything else kind of cool in here. So, AI-assisted malware generation. I mean, who's not messing with that? Research, reconnaissance, and attack lifecycle support. Oh, this is just hilarious. Now, I don't want to hate on Hexstrike. Actually, I've been meaning to bring Hexstrike back up and let it loose on one of the Ludus labs. But it's just funny. So, We recently analyzed a suspected PRC Nexus threat actor deploying agentic tools like Hexstrike and Strix against a Japanese technology firm and a prominent East Asian cybersecurity platform. Hexstrike was utilized alongside with Graffiti Memory System, a temporal knowledge graph, to maintain a persistent state of the attack surface, allowing the agent to autonomously pivot between tools like Subfinder and HTTPX based on internal reasoning. Simultaneously, the actor leveraged Strix, a multi-agent penetration testing platform, to automate the identification and validation of vulnerabilities. This combination of autonomous reconnaissance and automated verification suggests a transition towards AI-driven frameworks that can scale discovery activities with minimal human oversight. Now, while that is true, I still bring up the old adage that generates a lot of noise. A lot of noise. Oh no, there's an XKCD. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now the better version of this is there's one where it's like, it's this same picture, but someone's put like a car jack down here, and it's just, the car jack is just labeled AI, and it's tipping the whole column over. That's the awesome one. Yeah. Now there's been actually, so there's stuff that's happened with Hexstrike since we covered it on the stream, and that was a while ago, Bobby. I mean, heck, we were still running Claude 3.7 when that came out. So it's been, heck, it's been generations as far as AI is concerned. I've been meaning to pull down the new code because I said I would go pull down Hexstrike once it got a rewrite and give it a go. So I'm thinking about doing that. Maybe I'll throw it in a Go lab and we'll see what it does. Yeah, lately, yeah, the NPM supply chain house of cards. Dude, PyPy is right up there with it too, man. I mean, it's all the ones that are using all those shared code libraries. Let's see. Wait, what is this here? AI to support I/O tactics. What do they mean by I/O threats? Information, like information operations? I/O threat actors across the open internet continue to uncover activity illustrating how threat actors use AI tooling to enhance established tactics. For example, GTIG uncovered activity linked to a pro-Russian I/O campaign. Can someone tell me what they mean by I/O in this case? Like, is this an information operation? And this one, pro-Russian I/O campaign called Operation Overload. Now, the funny thing about this is, I only see these whenever they come up on like something like X or Twitter or whatever, Zitter. And it's usually then there's somebody in there like, hey man, here's why this is stupid. It just comes up. Yeah, for me, this is input-output. I'm so freaking sick of renaming these things. Like, everybody, for example, is talking about the agentic OS. And I'm like, no, that is not an operating system. Where is it? Yeah, that's how I feel about that. Unless your AI OS ships a custom kernel and boots hardware and manages actual device interrupts, it's not an OS, it's a harness. I will die on this hill. Yeah, but why call it an I/O, man? Sick. That's just a ridiculous. Minus 50 points for Gryffindor. That's bad. The majority of Linux kernel is hardware drivers. I know, right? It's massive. Of course, it would be some government nerd that comes up with that acronym. Right, and so what they're trying to say is, hey, we've built an operating system for the agents. It's like, no, you haven't. You've built a program that runs on the operating system. Your program category is a harness. It's an agent harness. And I think that is a fine term. Just stick to that. It's more accurate. We all know what an OS is. Hey, Peaches. Let's see. So yeah, so like, hey, by the way, they're using AI to make fake news reports. Yeah, but then there's always somebody who is a former military person with weaponized autism that's like, hey, here's why that's fake. Oh my goodness. Weaponized OpenClaw skills. So these risks became more apparent in early February 2026 when VirusTotal researchers reported on security risks associated with OpenClaw, including AI software supply chain risks and vulnerabilities introduced via malicious and insecure skill packages. Most notably, we observed the distribution of malicious packages masquerading as OpenClaw skills, containing hidden routines designed to execute unauthorized code and commands on the host system. Given the elevated level of system access that OpenClaw is granted, a skill could be used to perform various privileged actions, such as executing code, downloading additional payloads, and discovering and exfiltrating data. It's so bad. There's acronyms within acronyms within acronyms, nested acronyms. The lexicon in government space is wild. Oh, dude. It's death by acronym. Oh, that's funny. Okay, I'm gonna bail on this article because kind of I do want to look at this one real fast. Actually, hold on before we go. How long is this? Yeah. Oh, that's a long one too. Here, I'll pin this one real quick for anybody who wants to take a look at it. But I want to check it out real fast because I'll forget to look at this later. Let's see. Mythos finds a curl vulnerability. Yes, as in singular. 1. Yeah, it's all alphabet soup, dude. So back in April 2026, Anthropic caused a lot of media noise when they concluded that their new AI model, Mythos, is dangerously good at finding security flaws in source code. Apparently, Mythos was so good at it that Anthropic would not release this model to the public yet, but instead trickle it out to a selected few companies for a while to allow a few good ones to get a head start and fix the most pressing problems first, before the general populace would get their hands on it. The whole world seemed to lose its marbles. Is this the end of the world as we know it? I don't know. I feel fine. And amazingly, successful marketing stunt for sure. My non-access. So part of the deal with Project Glasswing was that Anthropic also offered access to their latest model to open source projects via the Linux Foundation. Linux Foundation let their project, Alpha Omega, handle this part, and I was contacted by their representatives. As lead developer of curl, I was offered access to the magic model, and I graciously accepted the offer. Sure, I'd like to see what it can find in curl. So the TLDR is Mythos only found 1, and the curl devs are pretty smart. So I signed the contract for getting access, but then nothing happened. Weeks went past, and I was told there was a hiccup somewhere, and access was delayed. Eventually, I was instead offered that someone else who has access to the model could run a scan and analysis on curl for me using Mythos and send me a report. To me, the distinction isn't that important. It's not that I would have a lot of time to explore lots of different prompts and doing deep dive adventures anyway. Getting the tool to generate a first proper scan and analysis would be great, whoever did it. So I happily accepted the offer. I'm purposely leaving out the identity of the individuals involved in getting the curl analysis done, as at this point in the blog post. Okay. So before this first Mythos report, we had already scanned curl with several different very capable AI-powered tools. I mean, in addition to running a number of normal static code and analyzers at all the time, using the pickiest compiler options and doing fuzzing on it for years. Let's see. Primarily, ISLE, ZeroPath, and OpenAI's Codex security have been used to scrutinize the code with AI. These tools and the analysis, I got stuck on a subpart of the word. These tools and the analysis that they have done have triggered somewhere between 200 and 300 bug fixes merged into curl throughout the recent 8 to 10 months. Damn. So a bunch of the findings these tools reported were confirmed vulnerabilities and have been published as CVEs. Probably a dozen or more. Nowadays, we also use tools like GitHub's Copilot and Augmented Code to review pull requests, and their remarks and complaints help us to land better code and avoid merging new bugs. I mean, we still merge bugs, of course, but the review bots regularly highlight issues with our fixes. Our merges would be worse without them. The AI reviews are used in addition to the human reviews. So they help us, they don't replace us. That's what I'm saying. This should not be replacing people. This should be, putting people up. I want Iron Man suits, not drones. There's a reason why Whiplash got beat. Let's see. Security is a top priority. Okay, let me see here. Where's Peaches? Hang on, I want to read this a little bit more, but Peaches is dying to go outside. Give me 1 sec, guys. All right, I'm back. You weird poop counting people. Where's the button? Which button is it? I can't remember. My Stream Deck has failed me. There it is. All right, let's see here. I swear, Peaches, she's my puppy. Her bladder shrinks to the size of a pea as soon as the sun goes down. I swear. I don't know what happened. It's something that just started like a month ago. I think there's something in the backyard she's enamored with, and for some reason she only wants to investigate it at night. She's very sneaky like that. Anyway, all right. So he keeps writing in the blog, May 6th. So it was with great anticipation we received the first source code analysis report generated by Mythos. Another chance for us to find areas to improve and bugs to fix. So to make an even better curl. So the initial scan was made on curl's Git repository and its master branch of a certain recent commit. It counted 178,000 lines of code and code analyzed in the source and lib subdirectories. The analysis detailed several different approaches and methods it has performed the search and how it has focused on trying to find flaws. A fun note on the top of the report says, curl is one of the most fuzzed and audited C code bases in existence. Finding anything in the hot paths is unlikely. And it correctly found no problems in those areas. Oh, I love this. Based on hype, how do you think curl's what are you thinking curl's maturity? How many CVEs do you think will result in Mythos scanning curl for the first time? Most people thought it was like 10. I wouldn't have, I don't know. Maybe I would have gone with 10 also. 1. These 32 got it. All right, so curl is currently 176,000 lines of code, and we have excluded blank lines. The source code consists of 660,000 words. Damn. 12% more words than the entire English edition of the novel War and Peace. Whew. On average, every single production source code line of curl has been written and rewritten 4.14 times. We have polished on this. Yeah, they have. Okay, I'll go look at something. Damn. I had to have something to compare this to. So the book series I just finished, I told y'all was Name of the Wind and then Wise Man's Fears. They're about the same. Those are roughly 250,000 words. I did not realize that War and Peace was like that much. It would take both those books to even come close to War and Peace. Damn. That's a lot of code. And to securely, to hammer it for security for that much stuff, that's a lot of dedication, man. Like, freaking kudos to them. So right now, the existing production code in the Git master that still remains has been authored by 573 separate individuals. Over time, a total of 1,465 individuals have so far had their proposed changes merged into curl's Git repository. We have published 188 CVEs for curl up until now. So curl is installed on over 20 billion instances. It runs on over 110 operating systems and 28 CPU architectures. Holy crap! That's amazing. It runs every smartphone, tablet, car, TV, game console, and server on Earth. Yeah, I did not. So, Deus, I did not realize how big War and Peace was. Damn, that's a chonky book. Hey, Orbital Slop, thanks for coming online, man. Let's see. All right, so 5 findings becoming 1. So the report concluded to have found 5 confirmed security vulnerabilities. I think the term it used. I think using the term confirmed is a little bit assuming when the AI says it confidently by itself. Yes, the AI thinks they are confirmed, but the curl security team has a slightly different take. 5 issues felt like nothing as we expected an extensive list. Once my curl security team fellows and I poked at this short list for a number of hours and dug into the details, we had trimmed this list down and were left with 1 confirmed vulnerability. The other 4 were 3 false positives. They highlighted shortcomings that they documented in API documentation, and the 4th was deemed just a bug. So the single confirmed vulnerability is going to end up as a severity low CVE, planned to get published in sync with our pending next curl release 8.21 in late June. The flaw is not going to make anyone gasp for breath. All details for that vulnerability will, of course, not get public before then, so you don't need to hold your breath. The Mythos report on curl also contained a number of spotted bugs that it concluded were not vulnerabilities. Much like any new code analyzer does when you run it on hundreds of thousands of lines of code, all the bugs in the report are being investigated, and one by one we're fixing those that we agree with. All in all, about 20 bugs that were described are explained very nicely, barely any false positives, so I presume they've had a rather high threshold for certainty. Curl is certainly getting better thanks to this report, but counted by the volume of issues found, all the previous AI tools we have used have resulted in larger bug fix amounts. Now, there is one little bit of a catch to that, right? They were running those when the code base hadn't had this kind of big overhaul review, right? And then they're bringing Mythos in at basically in the 9th inning, right? As a relief pitcher. So it's cool that it found stuff, but also these guys have been very active in the approach and going to take the stuff off. Oh, hey, Defus, what's up, dude? The Curl Dev had a really cool talk on security at NDC conference. Ooh, nice. Sorry, I missed your message for a little bit, Defus, but what's up, dude? Happy Wednesday. It's only Wednesday for another 50 minutes. Currently rocking a 20% aggro rate on SOC, so we need to hurry this up. Ooh, let's see. Okay, so this is only natural, of course, since the first tools we ran had more and easier to find bugs. As we have fixed issues along the way, finding new ones are slowly becoming harder. Additionally, a bug could be small or big, and it's not always just a fair to compare numbers. So my personal conclusion can, however, not end up with anything else other than the big hype around the model was primarily marketing. I see no evidence that this setup finds issues to any particular higher or more advanced degree than any other tools have done before Mythos. I love calling it Mythos. Mythos! Maybe this model's a little bit better, but even if it is, it's not better to agree that seems to make it a significant dent in code analyzing. This is just one source code repository, and maybe it's much better on other things, but I can only tell and comment what I've seen here. So, but allow me to highlight and reiterate what I have said before. AI-powered code analyzers are significantly better at finding security flaws and mistakes in source code than any traditional code analyzer did in the past. All modern AI models are good at this now. Anyone with time and some experimental spirits can find security problems now. The high-quality chaos is real. High-quality chaos? I need to keep an eye on his blog. Hang on one second. Where's his blog home? Here we go. I like his blog. I'm going to put that on my tracker. So any project that has not scanned their source code with AI-powered tooling will likely find huge number of flaws, bugs, and possibly vulnerabilities with this new generation of tools. Mythos will, and so will many others. Not using AI code analysis in your project means that you leave adversaries and attackers time and opportunity to find and exploit the flaws you don't find. I agree. The code has gotten pretty good. The thing is, you do need to have somebody go through and review it, right? They had, from Mythos, 5 confirmed vulnerabilities, but 3 of them turned out to be non-issues, and 1 of them was just a bug, right? I have a custom one that I had Harvey, my AI agent, build. So it goes through and it pulls stuff down to index it for me. Please, Mythos, what kind of curl do you think I am? I see you clutching your pearls there, Ken. All right, let's see here. So let's look at how he talks about how the AI analysis differs. So they can spot when a comment says something about the code and then conclude that the code does not work as the comment says. It can check code for problems or code for platforms and configurations we otherwise can't run analyzers for. It knows details about third-party libraries and their APIs so it can detect abuse or bad assumptions. It knows, and he's got knows in quotes here, right? Because this is information that is just baked into the vectors, right? Baked into the memory of the model. So it knows about details about protocols, curl implements, and can question details in the code that seem to violate or contradict protocol specifications. They're typically good at summarizing and explaining the flaw, something which can be rather tedious and difficult with old-style analyzers. They can often generate and offer a patch for the found issues, even if the patch isn't actually 100% fixed. No, but I mean, having a starting spot is super helpful. So more details from the report. 0 memory safety vulnerabilities found. So this, and he has a methodology note. This review is hand-driven analysis using language model subagents for parallel file reads when every candidate finding re-verified by direct source inspection in the main session before being recorded. The CVE to variant hunt mapping was built from curl's own vuln.js, so no automated SAS tool was used. The outcome is consistent with curl's status as one of the most heavily fuzzed and audited C code bases. The defensive infrastructure, I'm not sure, let's see, capped dyn buffs everywhere, curlx string number with explicit max on every numeric parse, curlx memdump 0 overflow guard, curl printf, format string enforcement, per protocol response caps, ping pong, 64 kilobyte line cap. Okay, so he's just listing out the security capabilities they've built into this. So the defensive infrastructure systematically closes the bug classes that would normally be productive in a code base this size. Coverage now includes all minor protocols, all file parsers, all TLS backends, verify paths, HTTPs 1, 2, and 3, FTP full depth, imprintf, X509 AS1, DNS over HTTP, all authentication mechanisms, content encoding, connection reuse, session cache, CLI tools, platform-specific code, and CI build supply chain. Damn, nice. Oh yeah, to be real with you, Stovepipe, this just went right, yeah. If it had gone, yeah, I might have got something. No, it went right about, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, we'll wrap this one up and then I gotta call it a night. I could do that work in the morning. Got bills to pay, got mouths to feed. Let's see, AI finds existing kinds of errors. So it should be noted, the AI tool finds the usual and established kinds of errors we already know about. It just finds new instances of them. So we've not seen any AI so far report a vulnerability that would somehow be kind of novel or something totally new. They do not reinvent the field in that way, but they do dig up more issues than any other tool did before. Right, it's a better sift. I don't say necessarily better sift, it's just maybe a more efficient sift. You know, I wanted to learn Rust, Stovepipe. Unfortunately, the syntax is just an abomination. I wanted to really like Rust. And then it was like trying to read hieroglyphics. It is like JavaScript and... what did I say? It's like JavaScript and Python and C all had a baby and all the bad syntax genes got passed on. That's exactly what it's like. Just right at you. So he closes up with this last message. So there's absolutely not the last bug to find or report. So just while I was writing this draft of this blog post, we received more reports from security researchers about suspected problems. The AI tools will improve further, and the researchers can find new and different ways to prompt the existing AIs or to make them find more. So we've not reached the end of this yet. I hope we can keep getting more curl scans done with Mythos and others and other AIs over and over until they truly stop finding new problems. Nice. That was a fun read. I agree. I appreciate that. All right. Unfortunately, that's guys where I got to wrap it up. Let's see if anybody's over on InfoSec streams. Nope. If you do like this kind of stuff, though, I always recommend go check out InfoSec streams because it's a great place. There's lots of people on during the daytime, but for some reason, none of the hackers want to be on at night and be night owls. I don't get it. It's like you're breaking the stereotypes, guys. You're breaking the stereotypes. All right, let's see. Who else is in science and tech right now? Let's go see who we can find. Moo Hoodies is on. Always talk about the nice, awesome space news. Science is on too. Wacom Wednesday? I wonder what they're doing. Okay, I'm going to keep science in our back pocket. We haven't rated over to them in a little bit. Let me see who else we've got on. That's funny because did Shy Hat? Stupid raid system. The raid thing is still saying Shy Hat's online. I was like, Shy Hat raided over to us. I know Shy Hat's not online. Let's see. Who do we have on here? Nobody doing a whole lot right there. Okay, we'll go right over to science. I'm not sure if I can find anybody else to. They do be hacking. They do be hacking. All right. Cool. We'll go right over to science. He's always talking about fun stuff over there. Do me a favor, guys. When you get over to science stream, go ahead and drop a bunch of Hack the Planets and Happy Hackers in there. Let them know. I love the sciencey stuff over there. I will catch you guys on, I think I'll be back on Saturday. So this is the final race before the summer break for the season. I think I'll be back in time. It just depends. It's a long drive. We're driving practically down to the Gulf Coast. Almost, not quite. So I'm going to try my best to be back for Saturday night. If I'm not going to make it, I'll throw a message up on Discord and let y'all know. I'll probably throw out a message on Twitter as well. And I'm going to try my best to be back in time for Saturday night stream. If not, I will catch all y'all on Sunday. And we'll do some more hacking on the Dracaris lab. We're going to go after that some more. Yeah, no problem, Motion. Good hanging out with everybody. Remember, it's only Wednesday, so Crushing It mode is still full in effect for the week. Brief reminder, Friday will be read-only Crushing It mode, so you don't accidentally take something down in production. But it is read-only Crushing It mode, so you can prepare for a full assault on Monday when new Crushing It mode takes effect. So like I said, I will let everybody know about Saturday stream. I will catch all of y'all at least on Sunday. Hopefully on Saturday, though. And until then, I want y'all to remember one very important thing, which is I love you. Peace.